Hello. Was wondering if you could play that song again.
Which one, man?
The one that goes. Oh, sorry. Hang on one second.
Don't
Oh, how's it going, bud?
ultimately solve my non drum. If anyone here knows
Can I listen?
problem may be,
What?
that would be great. I have a here are my specs. Oh, fucking hell. Why the hell do I even have to do hot fixes for a fucking game that I own for over what seems to be like 3, maybe 4 years now at this point? I swear to fuck.
Oh yeah.
There are the specs. Razor Blade 15. What the Razor Blade 15? Oh, Razor Blade 15. Base model. Uh, base mod. The fuck? Base model. Base model. What type of graphics card? I don't know what type of fucking graphics card I fucking have. How the hell am I supposed to know? Hey,
Didn't you install it, bro? Come on.
fuck? Huh?
Didn't you install the graphics card? Didn't you have to buy it?
What?
Didn't you have to buy the graphics card and install it?
Oh, that's what you sound like.
What's
No.
that supposed to mean? What the fuck?
I know what you sounded like.
Oh, gotcha.
I bought this laptop to help me with working on a project at home because I was doing this is like the first time when I took my I was at After Effects class for one of my college courses, and I was basically completing every assignment in under 3 hours.
Oh, nice.
And which I almost pretty much did all throughout the entire semester, which I think is impressive. But there were a few times where the assignment took me so long just to complete that I ultimately had to buy something else so that I'd be able to complete, I think it was like my midterm or the final project, because for some reason it wouldn't even render out. I spent like probably 2.5K on this gaming laptop, and just so I can support, because I didn't have enough for a PC at the time, which I used Trump stimulus money. Haha.
Oh, yeah.
Good thing that money actually went to use. So I panicked because I was unable to even play this game, and I played before, believe it or not. Like, it ran perfectly, but I don't know what the problem is. I uninstalled the game, reinstalled it, verified the integrity of the files, and then I did something that was called like a like a clean update or something of the sort, which where you delete all the files and then you go ahead and verify integrity to make sure the files are as pure as possible. Even then, when I tried to boot the game up, it still didn't want to work.
Damn.
I know.
Yeah, it has to be like trying to like call a function to the or like from the like the graphics card that it's not that it's not capable of? Or sorry, you said this was a laptop, right?
Yeah, it's a gaming laptop, yes, but
Mhm.
even when you think that it was not capable, it doesn't make sense because it was capable years ago. And even when I checked the updates for the graphics, I even made sure it even says go back, click on the gear, about, check for updates. Yeah, version 2025, 5324. Version, everything's up to date. And even then, still, it's saying there's something wrong with the GPU, which I have no fucking idea. I don't understand.
Okay, this is like a silly question, but did are you like is it do you have your settings set to the right GPU? I obviously it has like onboard graphics or whatever, not necessarily onboard graphics, but
Settings
like
for the right GPU. What do you mean by that?
yeah. So I mean, like if there's a dedicated graphics card versus like onboard graphics card, I don't know if this is even possible with a laptop, but like like if your Mobo like had onboard graphics and it was like set to use that, um, like versus using the actual GPU, if that makes sense.
I don't know how to do that.
No, sure.
Anyways, I have some sort of tech. I have a DDR plug that could probably help me. He's probably more knowledgeable with computers, anyways.
Onward.
Oh, that's this point. All right, so I want to get the shit started or what?
Hell yeah, let's fucking go, dog.
He's ready. I was about ready to just have the masculine urge to get a gun at gunpoint and just bite down a bullet after dealing with this shit for the past couple hours.
Hell yeah, I get that for sure. I'm not depressed because of real life. I'm depressed because of the most minor of inconveniences, like fill out this form. God, fucking.
That's how I fucking feel, trying to figure out, going to form to figure out every single time I go on fucking blue screen. Also, apologies in advance. I have links open, and yet, well, I didn't even have time to go ahead and get everything sorted. If I can even find the. Okay, thank fuck. Okay. So, with the Sweet Baby Ink shit, you know how I said it's a lot deeper than I initially thought?
Yeah.
Well, apparently. Oh, that's what PlayStation. Apparently, someone did some really good detective work, ended up exposing them, which then led to them actually going dark, and it's unaware as to how deep Sweet Baby Ink's ties are confuddled. So that's the reason why I actually want to put a stopper on that bit
Okay.
until things start to expire. I could send you the link. This is honestly, I wasn't expecting this.
Yeah, for
If
sure.
you want to have a good read.
Yeah, absolutely. Hit me up.
But this shit. Oh my god.
Can you post it in the Discord? I'm sorry. I'm not gonna interrupt. I just want to read it too.
What the Jesus Christ. I didn't know you were here. I didn't know you were. Okay. Sure.
Bro, you're muted. Yeah.
These guys. Listen, all I gotta say is don't mess with a gothic couple who does investigative work for a living. My goodness. Are they alternative?
Yeah. I mean,
I don't really know what the hell they even are.
right.
I think they're goth, but I don't know where the hell you want me to put this shit.
Yeah, if you want, or if
Good
you can,
news.
there's a gaming channel, might be a great, or politics, I guess,
It's not politics.
for
It's
sure,
not political. It's not political, I wouldn't say.
for sure.
Maybe news.
Yeah.
I'll put in news. Like, I didn't even know about this, but when was this article posted? I'm kinda curious now. February 12th of this year. And it's just, like I said, I wonder how deep this rabbit hole goes. But that's neither here nor there. So you want to talk about Last of Us? Ghost of Tsushima?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Whichever one you wanna, or whatever you think is like the
All right.
strongest case for how like wokeness caused the video game to fail.
Well, the really good way is to talk about Black Myth Wukong. Now, with Black Myth Wukong, which actually is why I need Peach. With Black Myth Wukong, first off, the video game news media, they did something similar with Ghost of Tsushima. They proactively tried to bury the game, saying that it was appropriation and all this other stuff. Even though, if you were to go ahead and look at the game reviews overseas, in fact, Japan rated the game Famitsu, games media that's been around for what, 5 decades. They started in, I think, sometime 85 or 86, so 5 decades, still active and going. They gave Ghost of Tsushima a 40 out of 40.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Ghost of Tsushima
you
was
probably
really
are
good.
wondering, oh, they just give it out all willy nilly. They give what perfect scores willy nilly? No. After a little more research, I discovered there are only 27 games that they've ever given a 40 out of 42.
Yeah, I mean,
Pretty impressive.
yeah, I mean,
right?
Yeah, I as someone who's played Ghost of Tsushima, yeah, no, it's a very good game, I would say.
Now, we also need to go ahead and go back to how all this started, right? So, when the leaks initially came out from Last of Us, right? Were you aware of that at all?
Or like what leaks you're talking about specifically?
The Last of Us 2 script leaks.
No, not specifically, no.
So initially, there were leaks of Last of Us 2 that ended up dropping. I don't know who did it, but it honestly seems rather suspicious to me, especially when I heard news about this.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why it's suspicious is because it honestly seemed like they were trying to garner publicity. And with the publicity that they garnered, I don't think it was what they were initially expecting. Because when YouTube news outlets, when they covered this, it was like, oh no, this is, ugh, brother, ugh, what's this? And lots of people had negative pushback towards lots of the ideas, and people were hoping that it was fake, which turned out, when the game came out, actually wasn't. Many of the video game news outlets like IGN and the sort, they didn't even cover any of the game leaks of what Naughty Dog was doing towards these channels that were covering them. Basically, it was during a period where if you even talked about them or covered them, you would basically get nuked. Nuke would copyright and DMCA's, even though that private information is now public domain. Now, there are. Huh? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Public domain is after copyright expires? Question mark? Or I guess I don't quite understand what you mean by that.
Because so they self-leaked their own script to try and garner hype. And so when people found out about this, they covered it. They talked about it. But initially, Naughty Dog ended up gaining negative press when they ended up targeting people that were talking about the leaks. Even though it was private at first, now it became public domain because it's been leaked out over everywhere, and they were talking about it. But because of the negative backlash and feedback that they were getting because of the scripts that were leaked, they ended up constantly targeting all of these creators who were talking about the leaks on their channel, and they were getting DMCA'd constantly. I don't know if that's a technical term, but they were getting punished and abused by the YouTube to copyright system. And during this, I didn't even hear a single video game journalist outlet even talk about it at all. Just radio silent. Like it got swept under the rug.
Mm-hmm.
Which already that in itself already has caused tons of negative feedback already from the jump, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, I guess sorry. I'm trying to follow here. So
no, you're fine.
So
it's just you're
there
quiet.
were leaks, or you're saying they self-leaked, and then the reception to the leaks wasn't very positive. So then they started to like target creators talking about the leaks with like copyright takedowns in order to hide the leaks that they leaked themselves.
Yes.
Okay, I'm following.
Yes, that's the first. That's the first major bit of. So that's how it started, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not how it ended. There's a bit of new news I discovered, which is how it's ended. And now, see, game journalists, especially like Kotaku, and tons of other news outlets, for example, they try to paint a narrative to disavow and dissuade people, try to control the narrative for what people like, what they should like, and what not to like. And there is a constant weird ebb and flow sort of deal with this. And because they can't control gamers and how they think independently, they result to calling names and isophobes. You know how it is.
Yeah.
Whatever. And yeah, of course, you're a gamer yourself. You know how it is exactly. So when it was, I believe, 2020, when both Ghost of Tsushima and Last of Us 2 came out, right?
Yeah.
Right? I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, those two were the main ones to go head to head to be Game of the Year. Both games, I believe, came out maybe like a month apart from each other, I believe, or like a week or so. Actually, don't quote me on that, but I feel like that's the case, right? They were pretty close when it came to like release.
Yep. Yeah, they're just under a month apart. Last of Us 2
exactly.
is June 19th, and then Ghost of Tsushima is July 17th of 2020. Yeah.
June and July. Okay, so I'm right about that. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So both games were set to release right next to one another. They were pretty close. So there are a few things that tell me that Last of Us 2 undersold, or should I say didn't sell well. And I bet you that if Naughty Dog were to release the sales numbers for Last of Us 2 during the time frame when they were nominated Game of the Year, I bet you they probably would have been taken off of the registry for being recommended in the first place. There are a few keys that point this out to me, especially. First and foremost, when Last of Us 2 dropped, there's some news publications, well, don't say news publications, I mean YouTubers, who covered how the game was doing. And from what I gathered, fans didn't really like what happened, to be honest. Fans didn't like it. It ended up separating a fan base, in fact, with the sequel compared to the first. I actually liked the first. Even though I'll openly admit I didn't play it, I watched the gameplay of it. The story seemed very genuine. I loved the dynamic. And people hated the fact that, when Joel ended up getting murdered, right, what people perceive. Oh, fuck, are you live? Oh, shit, my bad.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Sorry, I am live. I should have said that.
Tell me, bro.
Yeah, my bad. That's super my bad.
Like, dang, dude. For all I know, I could have been blabbering off to no avail, and then they don't even going on.
Listen, I asked if you wanted socials to be promoted. Okay, you should have at least kind of known. But yeah, my bad. I meant to say
you didn't even have no intro, no nothing.
I had an intro. Yeah, I had an intro on my channel. Like, what the fuck do you want from me?
No, I didn't hear it.
Yeah, no, I came in and you were blabbering on about like your goddamn graphics card and Cyberpunk's fucking 77.
Oh, wait, you did it then?
No, I didn't do like an intro. Like, whatever. I don't do intros.
You were live then?
Yeah, I hopped in to like start chatting or whatever. I didn't.
So me blabbing about my graphics card is how you start. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it's fucking content, bro. Like, what do you want from me?
Content. At least give me a heads up, like a 5, 4, 3, 2. Don't just go on me about bitching about my graphics card. Makes it sound like a
for sure. Yeah, my bad. Listen, I didn't know how to. Yeah, for sure. My bad.
You could have just been like putting up. You could just send me like a DM, like go on mute because I got to do my intro. I would have been perfectly fine about it.
Listen, intros are fucking woke. Okay.
Intros are woke. To varying degree, it can be, but I think that especially for like panels and stuff, it does help to have like a bit of like a cheat sheet to know like what's happening next. Kind of like a Monday Night Raw episode, right?
Right.
Like you have like really you want to know what those papers are on the desks. Those are just scripts that they supposed to recite.
Right.
I actually know a mate who used to be in the wrestling scene. Worked with a ton of high-end and low-end wrestlers. Shame he ended up dropping everything, though. He actually had a good thing going. Even had plugs in New Japan. Beside the point, sorry. I'm going off the tangent. Where was I? So, both games, side to side, they released one after the other. So, what happened was, after when Last of Us 2 launched, then Ghost of Tsushima launched. Both many creators were focused on the sales, and of course, since these two games were the main two that were supposed to be geared towards being potentially the game of the year. All the other candidates, let's be real, ain't nobody even cared about those. Let's be honest. All right, do you remember any of the other ones that were for that year?
No, I don't actually.
Exactly. Who cares? Who cares? So. One major thing that I noticed that Last of Us 2 didn't, Ghost of Tsushima did that Last of Us 2 didn't, was that leading up to the Game Awards for that year, Ghost of Tsushima actually ended up revealing their sales numbers for the game, showing you that, hey, this game's good just because. But Last of Us 2 didn't, which is kind of odd. Especially to me, because if your game is doing extremely well, of course you want to flaunt it, you want to boast about it, flex, do the whole 9, saying that, yeah, look at us, our team is top notch. You want to advertise and promote, and one of the ways to promote is through sales. If your sales are doing well, wouldn't you say that typically, other than like digital marketing from ads, articles, that sort of stuff, you would say that sales is another way for other people to be like, this game may actually be really, really good, correct?
Yeah. Okay, so like real quick, just going off of Wikipedia, there's a whole sales section. In its release weekend, Last of Us Part 2 sold over 4 million copies worldwide, becoming the fastest selling PlayStation 4 exclusive, beating Spider-Man's 3.3 million and God of War 1's 3.1 million in the same period. Biggest launch of 2020 for both physical and digital sales. But yeah, I mean, it seems like they're
probably was after.
In June 20 or on June 26th in 2020, in the PlayStation blog, like they released these sales numbers.
I was actually gonna get on that actually. On fact about the games sales versus one another. And I wanted to also mention Ghost of Tsushima on the PlayStation blog actually outsold Last 2 by a couple million.
Okay, for sure. Yeah, I mean, so the PlayStation blog post was in June 26th, which is still well before Ghost of Tsushima even dropped. So.
Yeah, but that what I was referencing to was to a PlayStation blog that happened afterwards when both games were already past their in their prime, far past their initial release. Because you can't. For me, I don't really you could base off of initial sales at like the very beginning at say possibly I don't know like the first month or so, but the first fiscal year, which I mean like not fiscal year but first quarter of when your game releases, you can't really base it off of that. Personally for me, what I would consider is a success and what isn't is based off of like the first initial year from when the game launched. If that makes sense. Like it's a good indication to tell if a game does well or a game doesn't do well based off like based off of the whole 1 year until like the anniversary. Unless you're like what a MMORPG, because this is like that's too murky, too murky. Because yeah, MMORPGs, you already know they have a ton of content being fed into, you know, the to keep the game alive.
Right. Yeah. The games as a
Then,
service like
then,
type model. You know.
yeah, exactly. Some are free to play, some are free to play, some are pay to play. Like Final Fantasy 14, for example, they do collaborations, all different types of brands and shit. So to base like the amount of sales numbers that you get from a game like that, because expansions and all stuff, that's doing too damn much. But
Right.
for now, I want to base off of physical games, even though I think Final Fantasy 14 has a disc version, which makes it even more murkier, but besides the point. Where was I? Oh, yes. So,
sorry, just to like kind of ground myself like real quick. Like, would you say The Last of Us 2 and Ghost of Tsushima are both woke games?
woke games, no.
Or I guess like how does this relate to the topic at large of like, you know, wokeness in video games is bad or like?
I'm getting to that.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, cool.
I just want to go and give you some ideas, some context before I do correlate into that, because lots of the mainstream game media, I feel like, are woke in a sense where they try to push a specific narrative of a game for you to like, or try to push a false illusion that a game is good, it's doing well, when in reality, gamers like common consumers like you and me, they constantly reject it. They don't like to be preached at. They don't like to have unnecessary censorship in games when you have the ESRB rating system, which clearly dictates and gives you a good guideline, gives you even what hold on, let me go get a game. To give you an example, a good indication of as to what to expect in a game when you go and buy it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lots of developers, what they do is that they go and censor the game in advance toward what they would consider the quote unquote modern audience. And so that's how it correlates to this context. But before I get to that, I would like to give you the context as to where I'm getting at. It's just that there's a lot of monologue before we actually get into that discussion. I hope that's okay with you.
Yeah, for sure.
Everything's I promise everything will make sense at the end. So as I was saying about Last of Us 2, what was I saying? Oh yeah. Especially during this time frame when both games were going head to head for Game of the Year, it was actually stated that Ghost of Tsushima actually beat Last of Us 2 on the PlayStation blog by a couple million sales. This is far after when the games were after the Game Awards, and also when everything was said and done. I also want to go ahead and reference to Alana Pierce. Now, Alana Pierce, she has tons of sway in the gaming world. She actually used to be part of Funhouse before they went defunct in, I think she joined in 2016 or so. I feel like maybe 2018 before they kicked the bucket. But she has excuse me, she has deep connections to the Game Awards and also all that sort of stuff in that realm. There was a video where she was talking about the. Actually, I wonder if I can find it. Because I remember I got into a full-on debate, like with someone with. Oh shit! Didn't mean for that play. I got into a debate in the comment section with another person about how honestly it was rigged from the jump, and Last of Us 2 is probably going to win due to a bias that already was playing out from the get-go. But the games media did is that they tried to paint Last of Us 2 as a perfect game, as if it was so good, even though gamers already had pushback, and they didn't accept it. Plus, they already had, like I stated before, they are constantly censoring those people who covered those leaks. Now, you probably are wondering how this all coincide with one another. Well, when it comes to, I'm sorry, I'm brain farting right now. I'm sorry. When it comes to Boys Games Media, they both, when the games were going against each other, Ghost of Tsushima was loved not only by the Japanese, but also by the Americans too. Not the games media, obviously, but by actual gamers. Even when outlets tried to slander the game, saying that it's what, cultural appropriation or something like that of the sort. They try to use buzzwords like that of that nature. Turns out the Japanese love it. And even they love this so much that Sucker Punch, I believe, is that the name of the media company? Sucker Punch?
No, Sucker Punch is the publisher, or is the developer. Sorry.
Oh fuck! Did I get their they're the developer.
They're the developer. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because they also made like Sly Cooper and shit.
Oh wait, they do?
Yeah, they made a Sly Cooper, Infamous. I'm sure other stuff too. But yeah, they made Sly Cooper and Infamous. Sony bought them, and they made Ghost of Tsushima and the new woke one with a woman.
Damn. They really need to go and make a new Infamous. That shit's been too damn long. Sorry. Beside the point.
Right. Listen, we're burnt out on fucking superheroes for now, okay? Or they should make a The Boys video game, actually. That would be dope.
I know that probably would sell, just I don't really know what direction they would go with that.
Right, yeah.
That'd be that's where I think is murky, but I mean, I think it'd sell. But where it gets muddled is, especially when you have the Japanese love it. Japanese gamers, and even, like I said, what's it called? Famitsu even gave it a perfect score. 27 games, only gotten perfect score over 40, 50 years? That's how you know you pretty much hit the big time. It's very prestigious. On top of that, Ghost of Tsushima, also the Sucker Punch, the developers, I believe. Yeah, the developers, they became ambassadors to the Ryukyu Islands in Japan. The islands that are based off of Ghost of Tsushima. So, which means that they can literally go there free of charge whenever they want on a vacation. If you don't know, if there's a higher honor than becoming an ambassador for the game that you helped build and create, the history that you foretold, please, I'm all ears.
I guess, I'm sorry. Can you just tie this back to me? So, do you think Ghost of Tsushima should have won Game of the Year instead of The Last of Us? Is that...
Ghost of Tsushima should have won Game of the Year. It was rigged from the get-go.
Okay, so here I think is a more fundamental disagreement. I think Hades should have won Game of the Year over either of those, probably. Ghost of Tsushima was cool, but it was another I don't know, Ubisoft, Jiminy Cockthroat fucking, run to waypoint and do the recon and like yeah, I don't know. It's just like Far Cry but Japanese instead. Um,
I know about Hades. I played it. I really love Bastion from Supergiant. I love what I used to do. I used to listen to the soundtrack of Bastion, even though I can't for some reason. I'm not able to run the game on my laptop anymore. When I had the game, I was playing it. I love "Build That Wall" by Zia. Zia's theme. Oh, love them when they also. I loved them when they also came back as well initially. My goodness, it was wonderful.
but yeah, but I guess
Anyways,
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. As a gamer, I don't really give too much of a shit about awards, or I don't have like a huge, like leaning or whatever. Like there's a lot of game of the years that have won that I have thought that didn't really deserve it. There are better games that were made that year. Um,
agreed.
but
Oh,
yeah, I
agreed.
mean, but yeah, I guess I'm not quite sure. Like,
There's
I don't think The Last of Us 2 was pushing any like woke messaging. Like I think they had a lot of like awkward, like whatever. They were trying to tell the story about how, like why revenge is weird and bad, and I don't think they did a super great job at that. Like it was a very
I know.
unsatisfying story.
It was bad. It was bad.
Yeah, but I mean, I think people went through the narrative, or they were, um, yeah. I mean, like people played The Last of Us 1, which was obviously a pretty solid game.
Oh
Overall with
no,
just
it was a banger.
yeah.
It was a banger.
Yeah, and I feel like The Last of Us 2 was like kind of more of the same, and like they kind of changed up some of the themes and made some bold decisions, but
There's also another benefactor that also coincides with Last of Us, which is another reason why it's a negative light. So during this period when Sony moved their headquarters from Japan to America, they ended up implementing new policy in their rules, which not only negatively affected games that already been out, but also games upcoming that haven't been out there currently in development. The thing is, though, about this policy change, it only targeted games that were of Eastern origin. You know what I'm saying here?
yeah. Or what was the
Targeted them.
policy? Or sorry, did you already say the policy?
No, I didn't. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I didn't say
Gotcha.
that.
Sorry. I
But that's
just
what it's
good.
it's like I said, it's a weird integrated web. Trying to explain all this shit in a cohesive format that makes sense is very difficult.
Um.
What?
Mhm.
I'm sorry, did you say something?
Or sorry, I said
Your little
I said mm-hmm.
okay. It's like because sometimes with Discord, the lines around your Xbox go green, and then I don't know if you were saying something you want to interject. So
All right. No,
okay.
I do active listening, so I try to engage and make sure that
Oh,
I
okay. Okay. So with what was going on is that because there was a uncensored sex scene in Last of Us 2 that was uncensored, but lots of Eastern games that already have been out to a certain point were hit with this new rules, and it forced unnecessary censorship. Games have already been established and developed already that have already been released. Games like one game that I know for a fact did get hit with this was Devil May Cry 5. They added unnecessary lens flares to I think what nude lady? Nude Trish, wait, no, it wasn't lady. I think it was Trish. A new Trish, the character. And what I just want to check really quick what the game's rated. Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
And the game's rated M for mature. I mean, like with Cyberpunk, even as on a warning saying there's going to be partial nudity. So you can mean it's M-rated game. So obviously, it's not like you're going to have children playing this shit. Of course, but again, there are some irresponsible parents who do let children play the games like GTA. But to a degree, you know, some shit's out of control. Obviously, but
Or I guess like when you say censorship, like I guess that's you're talking about something going on at like the publisher level that isn't like I don't know, like because they could like the ESRB could just give it an AO rating and they could just bite that bullet, right?
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, though, is that with this Devil May Cry 5, there was partial nudity, but there's no like grotesque nudity where you see like the nipples or the labia or anything like that.
Mhm.
It was just for a split second, kind of like how Bayonetta is with her Wicked Weaves.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what it was like, and it still ended up being censored. In fact, there was another game that also got censored that was just about finished. That was being ready for development. A game called Senran Kagura. Well, a franchise called Senran Kagura. The game was called Senran Kagura 7. It is supposed to be the end story of the entire Senran Kagura franchise. That, I'll be honest, I'm a fan of the franchise. I was actually eagerly waiting to play the game. And since I was in a weird Muso phase where I kind of sort of wanted to play something new, but I didn't know where to look because I pretty much played them all. As seen in Peach's last stream, I said I played Pirate Warriors 3, Pirate Warriors 4, Dynasty Warriors 7, Dynasty Warriors 8, Samurai Warriors 4 1, 4 2, Warriors 3, Warriors Orochi 3 Ultimate. I beat like 9 different times. On my 10th run with Definitive Edition. Played the Gundam Muso games. I've played what else? Warriors Orochi 4, which is kind of ass, by the way. Muso All Stars. Warriors All Stars. Played 9. What else have I played? I played a lot.
For sure.
And so, to give you a bit of context to what Senran Kagura is, it's a lot like it's basically Ninja Girls, but in a Muso format. If that
Yeah.
if that makes sense, it's basically that. But because of the new censorship, it targeted that game, and so the game has been in developmental hell ever since. And Marvelous, they haven't released anything at all regarding the project. Some people believe that it probably has been canceled silently. And even if you were to go and look at Marvelous's page, which I believe they are the publisher, I think, or is it Xseed? They're both interjected very closely one another.
Marvelous is the publisher.
Okay, Xseed's the developer. Okay.
Oh, actually, or so the developers is it's listed as Tamsoft and Marvelous. I'm not seeing Xseed anywhere.
Tamsoft Corporation. Okay. Tamsoft. Right. Tamsoft and Marvelous, they're the ones who typically deal with the updates on their games on their page. Yeah, you can't even find jack about it. And in fact, I think the franchise is being buried altogether because the guy who created Senran Kagura, he ended up leaving Marvelous for another IP from the ground up because he was upset at the fact of what's happening, and he even saw the hypocrisy. So how this ties in? That's how that ties in with The Last of Us 2. Now back to the Ghost of Tsushima and Last of Us 2 bit. This is how it tells me that honestly I feel like Last of Us 2 was a sneaky little fox. First and foremost, when it came towards the sales and of Last of Us 2, they never revealed them. While Ghost of Tsushima, on the other hand, openly, freely revealed their sales. This is typically a clear indication that it wasn't selling that well initially. Also, when you look at how hard the mainstream gaming media was constantly pushing this game, it's even when gamers and everyone else was constantly rejecting it, both on the east and west side of the world, they were just the put in perspective, over on the east side, Japan, one person, I think it was Japanese, I don't know if he was Korean, hard to tell. Hard to tell. He ended up breaking his disc on live stream. And to put it in perspective, it got so bad over here in the US that you could find Last of Us 2 games on shelves in droves, but you can never find a Ghost of Tsushima copy. And it was so bad that there is a game store, I believe, in the UK that forced gamers to keep their copy of The Last of Us 2 because they were getting so many of the copies in droves for game in-store credit, which I didn't even know if that was something that people do over in the UK as well.
There's a market for that.
And then on top of that, especially with how Neil Druckmann, creator of Last of Us, he ended up also posting a really effed up Father's Day joke, especially when you know what happens to Joel in the game.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then again, as I stated before, ended up dividing the sorry, brain fart. And then Last of Us 2 ended up dividing their player base as a whole. Which even when I actually had an argument with my friend, the one I aforementioned before, who is a pro wrestling guy, I told him that honestly I think it was rigged from the get go. Because, and here's the thing, with Alana Pierce when she was covering the games that were for the Game of the Year, she ended up mentioning something that a very key part of information that coincides all this is that she states in a quote that when it comes to the votes, the journalists have priority when it comes is weighted 3-1. So which means a journalist has more power of a vote than an actual gamer. Which I still think is a bit of an oxymoron since called the Game Awards. You think you'd be doing a respect for the gamers and awarding by gamers for gamers. But lots of the time, these journalists, they play games on easy mode. They don't play them for real, as you know. They've been, and sometimes, even like with IGN, they've got caught in 4K stealing reviews from other people. Common folk.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can do a quick Google search, or you can see that they literally have stolen game reviews from other people before and got called out for it.
I mean, I guess is your main issue with like game awards and game journalism, or like what I'm
Is my main issue is typically with basically wokeness in game journalism.
Oh, well, I mean, okay. Well, then.
That's where also really quick, I need to step away for like 5
Yeah,
or 10 minutes. I've got to, do the
Yeah,
Hold on.
Hell yeah. Wokeness. Wokeness bad. Wokeness real bad. What the fuck is happening? What are we talking about? Fuel cowards ain't even. Yeah. Okay. Wokeness. Games journalism. don't care about gaming journalism. Yeah, yeah. Which like was also you're muted by the way. In case you are whatever. But yeah, I mean, like that was one of those like weird things where like Assassin's Creed Shadows, like a lot of people in the West accused it of like appropriation and shit, and like, oh, you're just shoehorning in this like black samurai. It's like Yasuke was a very real person that actually existed under like Oda Nobunaga in the Edo period of Japan. Like he was gifted a katana by Nobunaga, which like was a very big deal and did give him like cause him to rise to the rank of like samurai. I mean, like he was described in Japanese history textbooks as a bushi, which is the root word of bushido. But yeah, like Yasuke was a very real person. They didn't just like DEI a fucking black character into the game. Um, it's right. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, just like in that period, it's just, for sure.
All right, I'm back. Oh, good God. I'm going there for about 35, 45 minutes. So what was I talking about again? Sorry.
Elena Pierce, Alana Pierce.
Yeah. Oh yes, right. Alana Pierce. She ended up confirming that the Game Awards votes were ROA 3-1. 3 being the favor of game journalists, publications, and outlets. Which is also unclear certainty of how many votes are for each. Right? So they can go ahead and say that, oh, sure, this game ended up winning when it really reality it's Y or Z. And honestly, when you stated about how what was it? Hades should have won Game of the Year that year.
Yeah. Whatever.
To be
I'm a
honest,
big indie.
okay, that's fair. When it comes to indie games, I have a high standard when it comes to those. I don't play many of them, but there's some that do. I will say do appeal to me. That I play like Bit Trip, the Bit Trip series. I love. So to say that that should be a whole nother debate in itself because I feel like I should at least play the game first or see any visuals of it so that I know what it is. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I
One
guess so. It's
second.
like, go ahead.
Sorry, continue.
Very good. I mean, I guess I would say like something like The Outer Wilds, like that's probably one of the best games that's ever been made of all time. Like that, Inscription, like Balatro, like Hades, like these are all very, like I don't know, these are great, innovative games that deserve more attention. Like I don't know, I guess like the triple A slot, or slop that industry is putting out is I feel like mostly chasing profits. Um, and I guess I don't know. I don't know how much awards and journalism has to do with actual like sentiment in the public. Because I feel like the public sentiment is downstream of or the journalism is downstream of the public opinion and not the other way around.
That sense, I do agree. Sorry, I'm getting groceries.
Okay.
In that sense, yeah, I do agree. I think that's probably the reason why tons of people are moving toward independent media because they aren't getting paid top dollar to go ahead and paint a specific narrative that it isn't. These people, they got nothing else to lose. Fuck, they gonna tell a spade a spade.
Well, yeah, I mean, sure. But I mean, independent media isn't without its own biases, right?
To a degree. Like, look, there was to that sentiment, there was this ordeal that dealt with a specific news outlet that I and listened to. Give me 1 second.
Go for it.
Sorry, I was expecting groceries to arrive. Um, with I think that so there was a news outlet that I listened to called Clownfish TV, who was one of the sources that I use in regarding all this and this whole discussion. It's this whole ordeal that I've been following for ever since when it first came out, and a few others too. Excuse me. Um, they ended up there was a public like those data broker sites.
Yeah.
There was a news site that popped up around the time period where it labeled uh alternative media or media outlets as based off their politics. And so, even though Clownfish TV, even the people on there, I believe they both openly stated the one's liberal and the other's libertarian, they got labeled as conservative, and they didn't even consent to their data being added.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know. Like when we're talking about, you know, YouTube gaming review thing, like, I don't know. Like most of them are bad. Like 90% of them are like dog shit. And even the good ones like are kind of boring. Like whatever, just play the goddamn game, I guess, or go watch. Or I I understand, or like yeah, I would say there is a really big issue with journalism in general at the moment. And I don't think it's particular to gaming journalism. But yeah, just like the I don't know, the fact checking and the accountability for a lot of these uh like channels, like even this Clownfish TV. I hate like whatever. Every video that I'm seeing like makes me want to not be around anymore. But yeah, like but they have like almost or they have 500,000 subscribers and are getting like tens of thousands of views, which is weird. I feel like it's a weird ratio.
Can I ask a question?
You go for it.
Sorry. I was just wondering. Hi, Sarah. Um, so I remember, because like I remember on my stream and stuff, there were a lot of video games that you guys were talking about that one day that I mean, like I wasn't familiar with, but obviously as two gamers here, you know.
Yeah,
Like you
the
had
Alan
mentioned
Wake
Assassin's
bit.
Creed and stuff. Well, like games like actual games that were ruined by wokeness and not like the journalism. So like I was just really curious to hear about like those. I don't know if you guys had anything to like talk about as far as that is concerned, like the actual games. I don't know, but I was just wondering.
Okay, you want to know the context behind what? You want to know the context behind Assassin's Creed Shadows?
Yeah, sure.
Oh shit. Okay. Okay.
Like I guess
So
like
the
how is like
problem.
wokeness destroying video games and stuff like that, if that is considered to be a situation where wokeness did end up destroying video games or whatever, then yeah, I think that'd be really cool if you could. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Oh yeah, you're fine. Say less. So with so my mind's on Last of Us 2 because there's still bits of information that I do need to put also with that sediment. But since you brought up that question, Peach, I'll actually answer that wisely. So first we need to know what is Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed, it's about assassins who fight Templars, which are the bad guys. And with Assassin's Creed, it typically, depending on what the time period is, it always is typically very accurate, right? It's typically in whatever context is, say, for example, the Renaissance, like Ezio di Attore la Firenze. It was very faithful to the weapons, the combat, the scenic area and stuff, etc. Even with they never really had. I don't think they really had any stinkers up to this point, right? I don't think.
I mean, if or like, have you gone through the most handful of recent Assassin's Creed games like Odyssey, and
to put
and
to put in
Vikings?
perspective how how loyal I am to the franchise. I have beaten Assassin's Creed Origins on Nightmare difficulty.
For sure, it's not about
I,
like the gameplay or the mechanics itself, but I'm
of
talking about
course, of course.
I'm
I'm
talking
just
about the
saying
historical accuracy of the open world, like most recent Assassin's Creed games. Like and as like a metric, if we can look at Ghost of Tsushima, which is very historically inaccurate, like with so many of its like just basic facts. Just in terms of like different armor that like wasn't even used like until way after the like or the ninjas, I guess. But yeah, like after the whatever.
ninjas.
Yeah.
What do you mean ninjas? Because if we're talking about like historic weaponry, I think it's a whole other debate in itself.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, so we
When we
used this
talk
stuff
about
that
like
was way
ninjas
out,
and
like way outside of
samurais,
the
that
eras.
is something a whole different bracket. Whole different.
Okay, but like whatever. Assassin's Creed isn't renowned for being historically accurate. Like, can we
But
agree
it
on
does
that?
have events and missions that do coincide with historical
Yeah, it draws upon
benefactors.
history, for its like story to, because it's cool. It's like Assassin's Creed is just Kingdom Hearts, right? Like Kingdom Hearts brings together
Mm,
Disney and Final Fantasy characters you can fight alongside with, and like yeah, that's what
uh,
Assassin's Creed is giving you, where it's like, oh, you can go meet fucking Leonardo Da Vinci and other
oh
Italians or whatever the fuck, and they're all and you can hang out with Ben Franklin all at the same time because like whatever, again, like it's a fanfic
no,
about like ooh woo history, like it's
I never really thought of it in that sense, but even with Assassin's Creed like Odyssey and even Valhalla, there are schools that actually genuinely use these games as like teaching tools, in fact.
that's insane. That's literally insane. You understand that, right? Like that is
Like
insane.
there's like a separate mode where you can I'm not kidding, I'm not making this up. They really do.
There-
Do I think it's crazy how it got to this point? Yes.
Look it up. Look it up.
What the fuck?
Something. Sorry, I have a crazy person shouting in my background.
Jesus Christ, you have an instigator?
Yeah. No, I
I thought it was just 3 people.
right. There's an Abathur in chat.
A third.
Abathur.
So wouldn't it be a 4? 3 plus 1.
Yeah. Got you.
Think?
Yeah, that is funny.
Nice.
Sorry,
Okay.
that is funny. That is clever. I like that one. Thank you.
But because it's a foursome, not a threesome. That's like welcome to 3 plus 1. But really, it's more like 1v1. But like I'm using someone else as a resource, which I'm gonna get to that hopefully in this.
Okay, listen. I just googled using Assassin's Creed to teach history, and I found a story of a teacher going viral, and
Are you fucking kidding me?
yeah, but it's also like these specifically just showing the Battle of Thermopylae, which and so like again, like this isn't
Battle of what?
like
I'm sorry.
Thermopylae or whatever.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Of fuck, I can't type.
But like
Damn
again,
keyboard.
like there are a lot of historical facts in Assassin's Creed.
Thermopylae 480 Persian. Okay, Greece. Okay. I wish I played Odyssey because right now I've been playing through Syndicate,
Gotcha.
finishing that
so
up.
like
So
the last like handful.
I do know about like some history, but of Rome, of course. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So like we have like Origins, which is Egyptian. We have Odyssey, which is Greek. We have Valhalla, which is like Vikings. We have Shadows, which is now Japanese. And like
Which
it contains a collection of historical facts and like events that happened, and like if you break them down into like discrete events, yes, like it's accurate ish, but a lot of the
but
like it
minus
didn't happen in the order that it happened in the game, or like there could have been dozens of years.
the implication of the original assassin. If you were to take the assassins out, saying is it would be much more accurate. Kind of like with the Boston Tea Party that happened in what was it, Syndicate? No, 3. Yeah, 3.
Yeah.
I would count myself there. Which I really like that mission. I believe it was a stealth mission, I believe.
I don't know. Listen, I played enough Metal Gear Solid that I'm over its stealth gameplay now.
Yeah, after a while, it's just you get watch. That's another whole debate. I think is about the combat of Assassin's Creed where it's at now. Because right now, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's like shitty Arkham gameplay. Yeah, like there's a reason I'm over it.
Yeah, like I get what you guys are going for with Origins, which really damn good. Odyssey, I haven't played yet. I own the game with all the DLC. It's just heard as long as shit. But it's good. It's fair. It's pretty accurate. Although something about the gladiator fights just irks me.
For sure.
It irks me.
Okay, so sorry, not to distract, but like whatever. So Assassin's Creed Shadows, like how is it woke?
How is it woke?
Yeah.
Well, first and foremost, it really from what I've gathered, it coincides with Yasuke. Yasuke, it's unclear, but there's not enough historical data to prove that he was actually a samurai. Now,
Yeah, no, he was a bushi. He was gifted a katana by Oda Nobunaga in the Edo period. Like, yeah, Italian historians and Japanese historians, like there is historical record of like the Japanese guy saw a black guy for the first time, was like, that would be cool to like that's so interesting that exists. I didn't know that. And so he bought him because that was legal back then.
Slavery.
But yeah, I mean, like he was, given the title of bushi. Like, I mean, like, yeah, he's a historical character, like in Japan.
But the problem is that when it came to historical accuracy and dates that correlated with the with inside of the game. Also, not only that, but also the Japanese were heavily confused on the time periods, because the time period, it like in date, you have what, cherry blossoms going on. So which typically it would be around either, I believe, March or April, like springtime.
Yeah.
Right? But then you have that going on during some time in like June or July, which the dates are inaccurate, and they didn't even pay attention to that.
Yeah, sure, but like
There's
again,
also,
if we fact check like the logical consistency of this game, where you're like speed running, meeting like major characters in history during like a period of time in an ancient country, like over the course of a lot of time, like yeah, like if you like have you gone through each piece of armor in Ghost of Tsushima and seen if it was like relevant to the period, like if it was even invented yet, but for the intended time that it takes place?
for some of the weapons and some of the armor,
Yeah, but like,
I
is all of Ghost of
feel like I
Tsushima's
may have,
for sure? But like,
may have one point, but
for sure. I mean, so like,
for every single piece,
well, yeah. I mean, you're talking about like, it's like, oh, well, like it's a couple of months, away from the cherry blossoms actually blooming, and it's like, okay, so they have no artistic license. It's like, oh, well, like it can't be, like we can't act like these things are blooming. I feel like that's kind of a unrealistic standard.
Personally, I think the point is with what's going on, because this is also during around the time when the whole Johnny Somali stuff was going on, and you had constant nuisances with foreign tourists. this actually is so bad that it even reached Japanese parliament. In fact, they criticize the game and they fear that because you're able to destroy like a shrine in the game, like free willy nilly, they'll also still promote people who are coming to Japan to disrespect shrines itself, which have already been happening, but it's been nuclear due to the fact of Johnny Somali, which I actually did a speech on, in fact, covering all of
wait,
the
wait, wait.
details.
Sorry. I wanna take like a step back real quick. Can we define wokeness here? Because I'm trying to keep on top of like where this all ties back into, but I don't know. I guess I feel like we keep going down like these like long trails of like, well, it's woke because of, and then we have to get like 3 stories deep and back to gaming journalism in order to call this thing like woke. I guess I'm not quite tracking on how this stuff is relevant. That makes sense.
how it how it's um how it's considered woke. Um,
Like, is
it's considered
historical inaccuracy considered woke now?
to that degree. I honestly couldn't even tell you, but from what I've been gathering, it's more so hate more than woke. What is woke, however, is when in regards to Last of Us 2 and also Ghost of Tsushima, because the media was being extremely corrupt. They were trying to push narratives using buzzwords and stuff like woke buzzwords, as you know,
Well,
even though it's the case.
sure. So The Last of Us 2 faced criticism because apparently like there was like too thick of a woman that like met like straight conservative men were intimidated by like, oh wait, like women can get that like strong. Uh and so yeah, it was seen as woke because they're like, oh well, they obviously have like a trans character on there. And then Ghost of Tsushima faced controversy because like of its historical inaccuracies and also a Western developer appropriating like Japanese culture. Yeah, I don't know. These are both
So that
equally
they claim.
stupid fucking like things to consider like when we're playing a game and trying to judge it on its merits, but I mean, yeah,
I agree.
there's dumbness
I
on both
agree.
sides for, you know,
But
each thing.
I think it's because with The Last of Us 2, from what I've gathered, it's that they forced this character in where honestly did not even belong.
What
They painted this go
what
ahead.
what like what didn't belong where? Or I guess like what
What didn't belong. I felt like Abby was forced.
or what it, I mean, yeah, it like or I guess that's not very clear. Like yeah, Abby's like a new villain that's, on a revenge path to talk about the themes of revenge
Though,
for
like I
sure.
said, nine mostly when it comes to quote unquote woke characters, like what you said the person was trans, or
No,
I
like
think
no, they're not trans. Like they were
like
based off of a real
they're
life
buff,
Swedish
like
bodybuilder, and like there were a bunch of men who were like, oh, like women like can't look like that. It's literally impossible. Which is just not
no,
true.
I think that's not no. But I mean, look at Lean Beef Patty.
Uh,
You ever seen her?
no,
Buff as shit.
is she a lean beef patty?
That's her name.
Yeah.
Paris Lean
But I
Beef
mean, like,
Patty
does the username
is an
check out? I
example.
guess is what I'm trying to find out.
Yeah, you can
Okay,
look her up
thank you.
right now.
Yeah, no.
Her name
I
is
mean,
Paris Lean Beef Patty.
yeah, I will do that later in my free time.
For scientific purposes, sure.
Yeah, science.
No shame.
um, but like,
No shame.
but yeah, like Abby, like so Abby's straight. I'm
Wait,
pretty sure. And like, yeah, is like is
knock on wood.
yeah, sure. So we're talking like again, how many years into the apocalypse have we selected for like probably like stronger, beefier women, and like for almost a decade, and again, and just the whole spectrum of like what your biological sex can be like, how many like androgen receptors you have like as a female. Like, yeah, like there's a, like you can get fucking shredded, you know, comparatively.
Yeah, you
But
can
yeah,
get
but like,
swole. I
what
mean,
about Abby was forced to? I mean, like, yeah, she's a villain who killed a beloved character, and yeah, like you're primed to dislike her. That's the point. Like, she's the villain.
no, of course you're Jen. It's not because of the heat. It's
But
because
she's
of
not a
how
he. Like it's a like
no, but
Abby's a
heat,
cis woman. Oh, the heat,
heat,
the heat. Sorry, I'm
heat,
deaf.
heat, heat, generate heat. It's a pro wrestling term for heels because they're designed for you to hate them, which I'm admitting that's what the whole premise was, of course. But I feel like some of the writing, how what led to the death of Joel, is what people dislike. And also, some other people may or may not also dislike the death in general. Not to say, not to debunk that out as well. Um, to determine where people lie on the spectrum, I have no idea. I can speak for myself, but I am just going off of the videos, articles, and stuff that I have seen around that time frame, which was like years back.
Yeah. So
over the course of that.
My issue with this is that like you're talking about a lot of like secondhand sources. Like you're talking about people talking about games, without actually talking about like the games like themselves, which concerns me, I guess.
How does it concern you?
I mean like I you just don't really have any like experience with it. Like you're talking about like what other people are talking about, how other people are talking about games. Like I don't know. Like you're dealing with like you're giving me references that are like second and third hand, but like you can't point to anything specifically in the games themselves that are like woke. It's just like people's perceptions of like what the themes and characters are.
I mean, did I not? I thought I ended up referencing actual sources
Yeah. I
itself.
mean,
Did I
you gave
not?
me some articles that are citing YouTube videos that like might be made by schizophrenic people, for all I know. Like I don't know. I would need to like dig into that a little bit more, but yeah, like on the surface level, there's no like hard hitting facts here of like it's like someone wrote an article about a YouTube video that they watched, and I don't know who the fuck this person is, uh, so or how credible they are, not so whatever. I mean, I super duper
I mean,
appreciate the sources and like something to actually
I
like look
mean,
at.
I'm not making like what I'm saying here is proof that either me second, third hand. I'm not making this up.
Well, no, I mean,
I'm
but
here
like, but when I want to,
receipts to whatever I'm saying.
but when I
You
ask
know,
for examples of wokeness in video games, it's like it's like oh well, like kind of sort of like like people thought Abby was woke. But like, yeah, it's just a bunch of I don't know, guys that didn't want a strong woman to be the villain because I don't know, they're bad at it or something. Um, and so they like villainize her. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that makes a lot more sense than literally any other like explanation of like, oh well, they were like trying to force like some narrative on us, but we rejected it, and that's why it did super well because the industry is rigged like in its favor, but also like actually sucked and didn't do as well as anyone thinks it does. And like again, like what about
that's
The Last of Us 2 is woke besides like having a farm bred girl like kill everyone's like favorite dude?
for me. I think this. I think I think the narrative for me felt like it was about
Okay, so
forgiveness.
can you
I
like
think
yeah, okay.
my argument is now. See, if it was a revenge story, I think it would have been perfect. I think that I personally think it's a perfect scenario for oh actually let me put a stopper on that. When it comes to wokeness, that's more with Sweet Baby Inc. I should have referenced that at the very beginning. I'm sorry about that.
Very good.
That's where this is what I'm still digging into.
For sure. So I guess like again, so if we're looking at specifically Sweet Baby Inc., if we look at games like God of War, Ragnarok, um, uh, Spider-Man 2, and what was the other one? Oh, Alan Wake 2. Like these are all games that did pretty well. Like I wouldn't say that. I mean, there might be a woke thing or two in them, but like I wouldn't call these. I don't know. Like these games aren't pushing like Spider-Man 2 is not pushing a message. It's a Spider-Man thing, and like
that's like what I was trying to. That's the reason why I was trying to hold off on that and save it for another time because
gotcha.
currently I'm still digging, and I found like I posted, there's a whole bombshell that sort of coincides with a little bit of what I'm researching. I don't really have all the details, but I do know that Sweet Baby Inc. or single-handedly have been tied to the downfalls of multiple studios, from indies and also legacy known. For example, Volition with the Saints Row franchise. One of the games is so wild, and goofy that it doesn't even take itself seriously. Like, I mean, you have a dildo bat as a weapon.
Yeah. I mean, well, like, so okay, so
like that sense, I think.
Yeah, I mean, well, listen, the Saints Row reboot like had like a crazy thing to live up to. Okay, like they like escalated exponentially from like Saints Row 2 is like a GTA clone, and then by Saints Row 4, like you're a superhero and there's fucking aliens and shit. But that Saints Row game like sucked, and it was made under like rough conditions. But yeah,
do you want to know what the original concept for Saints Row 5 was going to be?
I'm familiar with it. But yeah, I mean, listen, EA kills studios, okay? Or Volition got bought by, yeah, or didn't Volition or wasn't Volition under someone else? Or like, didn't they get like bought out by like another studio?
I don't think so. They were independent all throughout.
Because I know like whatever, there's that Embracer group.
That's American.
EA.
That was the American McGee with EA. That you're referring to Alice Asylum, but unfortunately, even with the whole ordeal of American McGee, that game's never going to happen.
Oh.
Even though I was hyped for Alice Asylum and for the ending of the Alice franchise as a whole, I genuinely thought that the way how it was handled, how it was going to be handled, with how that was going to wrap up, I really truly think that it was a nice icing on top of the cake, especially for those who were waiting for that game to drop, and also for the franchise to be wrapped up. I just thought it was just neat little bow.
So Volition was okay. So listen, there's this very aptly named group called the Embracer Company, because it's like a fucking vampire that embraces you and murders you.
What the hell?
Like that's just where like game studios go to die. But yeah, like they were
Embracer Group.
Yeah.
Embracer Group.
Yeah.
Hold on.
It's
Embracer 80 Swedish video game media holding company. Carl said,
yeah. Like that's where that's where companies go to die.
THQ Nordic.
Yeah, used to be, but THQ died like so long ago.
Yeah, but then they got reabsorbed and said, "Oh no, yeah, we're just a publishing company," and rehired everyone back.
Yeah, no,
they actually do make good games though. Darksiders.
Or listen, they used to make good games. Okay.
Used to. Hold up. Darksiders is a banger. What do you mean?
Darksiders, yeah, sure. When did Darksiders come out?
20. I broke my damn. Hold on. Oh, I could just look it up. Darksiders 1 came out 20. I'd like to say. Hold on. Darksiders 1 came out. Hold on, I have it on Yahoo. Yahoo's trash. Google. Yeah. Ooh. 1. When did it come out? Really? Came out then? Actually, makes sense. Came out on October 25th, 2016. They made when did 2 come out? 2016. Wait a minute. Why the hell did it say 2016? Is that the Steam version? Oh, that's the mono version. When did it actually come out? If 2 came out on 20. Okay, so if Darksiders 2 came out in 2012, then it has to come out like 2010. Oh, that's why it says February 22nd, 2016. It came out for the next generation. Because I was about to say, I know that Darksiders 1 and 2 are both came out when THQ Nordic was known as THQ.
Yeah.
Before they got absorbed, right?
Yeah. I'm specifically talking everything that THQ Nordic has done.
I'm actually trying to figure that out right now. That's why I'm like,
for sure.
that shit doesn't that shit doesn't add up. What the hell?
Yeah, no. The Embracer group is the whatever.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure. You asked me a really good question, so I'm like, wait,
For sure.
this shit is something's off. But I know that it's old as a 360. Okay, that's where it came out. So Darksiders 1 actually came out in 2010, while Darksiders 2 came out in 2012. There you go. Sorry.
Very good. But yeah, but but that was released under the THQ label. And I guess
right?
I'm more specifically like the Embracer group from or THQ died, and then like THQ Nordic restructured and became the Embracer group, which is I don't know, very brazenly been shutting down a lot of studios due to I don't know.
But I mean, when it comes to the reviews, basing off of, we could go off of what, Metacritic or Metacritic, or we can just go off of what Google says. Fuck it. Google.com. Darksiders 1. What was that rated? What did it get on average? I'm curious. Since you did say that that's where they mostly go to die. I don't know if you said that.
Yeah, so the restructuring as Embracer was like 2019ish. So, it's well after they were they made games like THQ Nordic or THQ in general made really good games. They made a fucking banger ass Rugrats game that I played a lot on PlayStation when I was a kid.
They had Rugrats.
Yeah. It was the search for Reptar. You had to go do mini games to earn puzzle pieces to build a jigsaw of Reptar.
That's how I know from different generations.
Yeah.
Definitely. My God.
Right.
You're probably older than me. Shit.
I mean, arguably, probably.
Yeah, probably.
But anyway, okay. So again, listen, the wokeness thing here is what I feel like wokeness is wokeness when there's a non-male, non-white, non-straight character that's prominent in a game or something, or what I guess
what is it? What's defined? What I think there are multiple definitions. I don't think it's just one, which is difficult to truly tell you and pinpoint what it is. One instance could be, say, for example, a Mary Sue. What is a Mary Sue?
Yeah.
Some would say is a female character.
It's Rey Skywalker.
Yeah, perfect. For example. And what lots of the times what people will do is that they say their main protagonist is gay or something, for example, just for just for the sake of the argument, right? If a game or whatever media piece flops, it doesn't meet expectations. People reject it. Lots of people go ahead and fall on this default saying, "Oh, you're isophobic because you don't support such and such such." When in reality, it's because the story was shit. Like for example, in this is about to be a spoiler, just forewarning for Final Fantasy 16. When I first played the Final Fantasy 16, literally just Devil May Cry, but Final Fantasy Code of Painting. I didn't know Dion was fucking gay. I didn't know Bahamut was gay. But you know what? He was pretty based. I really love the story of how, because his lover they wouldn't be able to be together because he was pretty much the face of the Bahamut's empire. What was it called? Hold on. Bahamut FF16 Empire name. What was it? The Holy Empire Sambriac. That's what it's called. And
Wait.
how
Wait, would you say that Final Fantasy 16 was woke?
No. What
Okay.
I'm saying, I was.
Can you identify a single
contexting
black
example.
character in Final Fantasy 16 for me?
There weren't any because it's based off of
Yeah.
actual European. Yeah, it was based off of actual
There were no black people in
European
Europe at
place.
all. Besides Yasuke or whatever the fuck.
You're mixing two different places.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Final Fantasy is a made-up place, right? I'm sorry. Can you tell me when, like what era Ifrit was around?
Hold on. I thought you were about to say Assassin's Creed. That's what it was like.
No, Final Fantasy 16 was what we were talking about. But it's like, it's European. Like there are no.
Well, that's just 16. I'm not speaking about any other ones. The other ones, they do kind of all their own things.
Yeah.
Unless you're talking
sure.
about like 10 and 10-2, which that's also pretty murky because it's a direct 10 and 10-2 are direct sequel. And there are those like what 5 and 5 the after years, or is it 4 and 4 the after years?
It's one of those two, but they also have was it 13? Whatever the fuck one has lightning. That also had a direct sequel. I don't know if you would count like Crisis Core. Well, that's
what
a
the
prequel.
fuck is Crisis Core?
Final Fantasy it's the story of Vincent and Cloud when they were in Soldier before Final Fantasy 7.
That's probably the reason why I don't know what it is. It's 7.
Yeah, it was a PSP
People love the Dick Ride
exclusive.
7.
I'm pretty sure, like for quite some time. Yeah, whatever. Anyway,
did not know that.
So no black people in Final Fantasy 16, and it's not woke. Okay, all right. Can you name me any game that has black people in it that isn't woke?
I didn't say reference black people. I referenced, say, for example, a gay person like Dion, who was Bahamut in Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. But because
so gay characters are okay, but like Assassin's Creed Shadows is woke, because Yasuke is like maybe historically contested, because like a black samurai, like man, that's kind of crazy, dog. Like that's wild. That's like a flaming demon from hell coming out to help you with this like really hard boss battle, because you built up a meter high enough or whatever. Like those are like equally crazy.
Now there are.
Is that game that you liked with the gay character? Is that game woke or no?
It did get flack though because of there not being any black people in said game. But even when Square Enix openly said that it is based off of a specific place and whatnot, so in
Was
that
the
sense,
game woke
even
though
with
in itself? Like without the black people?
huh?
Was the game woke though, like how it is, not without the black people? Because you mentioned that you liked it and that like, but there was a
I
gay character. Was it woke?
Yeah, I liked the he no. The gay character wasn't the main character of the game. It was a character in the story, like midway, but that's not what the main plot of Final Fantasy 16 is about.
Was the game woke though? Like, is that what makes the game woke if it affects the main plot? Or
No, what I think what makes it woke is when how do I say this? It it becomes woke when it's the only defining characteristic of a character. Like you have no other character development, no drive or whatever that sense.
I
Typically,
that doesn't make sense to me. I'm sorry. Just
so
that
let
sort
me
of
go and put it.
so I guess I don't know how
I
you can
can
have
I
only
mean I can
one defining
articulate it better.
characteristic.
Um,
Like you
when
could be a
it's
gay
the
man
only
or a gay woman. So like
it's like if the character is black, then the only thing that makes them like that character is like that they're black. Like they were only made to be that character specifically to emphasize their blackness and nothing else about them. Is what I
like
think is
they're
what you're
just
trying to say.
bland and there's no development at all.
well so like I guess so that is a weird statement to me because that kind of implies that like some sort of default that it's like, oh, like you can be like X so long as you're X and unique enough, like as an X, like it can't be enough that you like, or like if you bring up the fact that you're gay, like you better tell me that for a reason. Or rather, like, you understand what I'm asking?
I don't think I necessarily follow. I do apologize.
Right. Okay, so if you ran into a character in a game, like who was giving you like a quest marker, like who was a black homosexual, um,
I mean, I wouldn't know off the top of the bat that they are that unless there's some sort of dialogue.
well,
I
yeah, sure.
mean,
Like, I mean,
hell, you can
if it
go
was
ahead and
readily apparent that they were black and gay, and then pointed you to the next, place on the map that you needed to run to, like, is that okay?
I think that I think it really this bit I think it really truly coincides with only if when it's there like a main character through like the main protagonist or or the main protagonist to the story. I don't think people really care as much if it's like say a already established well, I don't think they care if it is someone who isn't established. Like if it's a character being completely created from the ground up, completely original, it's fine. But I think people have tend to have a much more resolved issue when it comes to like say a legacy character. If that makes sense.
Or what I it that doesn't make sense. Like like
Like
I don't know
what
why it
legacy character
matters.
means
Like
is like a
the
character that's already been established already.
okay. So are you talking about characters like that have, or sorry, when you say like legacy characters, like is it not okay that like a gay black Spider-Man happens because that's just who like Peter Parker the 18th happened to run into and was like, oh, you got bit by the same spider that I do, so you have the same like spider herpes that I do, and here's how you do that. Like who the fuck cares like what their demographics are? Like as long as they're a superhero and going along with the morals and values and like the spirit of the story like of Spider-Man. Like what's like who the fuck cares like what their ancestral background is, I guess.
Well, most people don't. I believe if the story's good and well written, then it shouldn't matter. But the problem is that whenever a story is poorly written, and it's that's the only character, is one of the main characteristics of the character. People constantly always default thinking that, oh, look at this guy. You know what I mean? I don't think it's always the case, but from from the stuff that I've witnessed, it's very common, oddly enough. That's why I think, at least.
Well, yeah, sure, because like like gay, black, trans people exist, right? Like women exist,
Of
and like
course, exactly.
like,
Which,
and again, if we're talking
like,
about like
I'm
who the
not
fuck a spider
knocking it. Of
bites,
course,
like they're not like spiders don't follow DEI, like like they're just biting people,
yeah, they're
and like
fucking
so
insects, bruv. They're insects.
yeah,
They don't know shit.
so like so at the end of the day, like whoever, I mean, I guess like I don't understand like why
What
Spider-Man's demographics matter at all. Does that make sense?
what I don't feel like you're understanding my argument. I don't think. I think you're getting a sort of gist of my point of view, but I feel like you're missing the head a little bit.
But yeah, I guess
If
I don't understand like what wokeness means. It's like, oh, if they're gay and black, like they have to be in the game for a reason. And it's like, okay, yeah. So if
it's
they're gay and black and are pointing you to like the next quest marker, like who cares? Like does it all have to be like,
like I
straight
said,
cis height, white men from the
it doesn't.
historically
I
appropriate
don't think it
area
matters
or
in that sense. But when it comes to like a main protagonist, and that's the only thing that's holding them together. Like a ton of. I mean, let's like say for example, you brought Ray Skywalker. Tons of people, especially with that's actually a really good example. Like Kathleen Kennedy, they tend to default towards this sort of ordeal and force it down people's throats. But if you reject or you push away from it, then you instantly label it as isophobe, which that's actually a really good take that you brought up when you brought up Ray Skywalker, because people loved Rogue One.
yeah,
I
because
I
Rogue One
think,
was like interesting, but like
yeah, it had good
the new
writing, good
trilogy
development.
was just a rehash of the original trilogy. And and Rey didn't have to face any trials to, like I don't know, she just was just chilling, like being a farmer, and then all of a sudden she was like eating star destroyers across the galaxy, and it's like, wait, what? And it's like, oh yeah, she's like Luke's
Exactly.
kid though, so like that makes sense, right? It's like, no, it's fucking,
And the thing is, though, she wasn't even she claimed herself to be a Skywalker, even though if you want to go through like the weird, crazy incest story shit, that's what basically Star Wars is in a nutshell. Especially when Han Solo ended up giving that one girl that look. That what the hell do you mean? You barely can.
for what
It's
it's
from
worth,
like,
on this channel we call it Wincest.
Can I ask you a question?
oh fuck who?
Who?
I guess probably Cyril, but anybody, I guess. 'Cause I don't want to like dogpile, but I guess like the idea of like if you make somebody being like black or gay or something, then like if that's all they have to define them, then that's what makes it woke. What if it's like I'm having a hard time understanding if it's a white character, I feel like all that they would have to define them is them being white. I guess I'm not saying what the character, like what additional character development is like lacking by making them black. Do you know what I mean? It just seems like a style choice other than like they're losing out on like the story in effort to push some sort of woke agenda. Do you see what I mean? I'm trying to understand the like defining point that makes it like white, they're this person, that's their story, and then if you make them black, I'm having a hard time seeing how now all of a sudden the only thing that defines them is that they're black. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I think I get you. I think I how to answer that. That's preloaded. When it comes in that sense, um, I think I feel like this may coincide with people, any color, any race, receive some sort of flack, even white folk. believe it or not. Especially more prevalent nowadays. Especially with what the fuck's going on in the media.
Wait, what's going
But
on in
yeah,
the media?
um,
Sorry, that might be a sidetrack.
I'm sorry, what?
That might be a different conversation, but
Yeah, that's definitely a different conversation. Sorry. I was trying to loop it back to what you're referencing, which I just lost train of thought. Shit. Um,
sorry, I can say it again if that helps.
please do, because my brain is like a bit muddled right now from this conversation.
Yeah, no, I guess like when we talk about, everything is
Brain
like
poop.
fine. Like for example, like it doesn't matter if a character is gay if that's not their only defining quality, or if it's
Yeah.
okay, or that like it's okay if they're black, but it's not their only defining quality. What I'm wondering is like if a character is white, what is their defining quality? Do you know what I mean? I'm having a hard time seeing
What's
how
their
like
defining
if it's
quality?
yeah, like
That's
I feel
I
like if
think
it's
that does
white, they're
coincide
just
with
kind
you.
of like default. Does that make sense? For like
You're
lack of a
thinking
better
that
term?
because if the character is white, the only thing they have is they're white, like they don't have any culture.
Like
Which
like they
does
don't
that make sense?
well not necessarily, but like it's like any character can be white and like it's not their whiteness that defines them. But like when you turn a character black, it sounds to me like it's like
Oh,
it's
okay.
the
I know
only
what you're talking about. You're
defining
talking about like
character where it's like
blackwashing of characters.
yeah,
Like
so it's like I
pre
feel like
already pre coincided already characters have already been established. Like for example, Mary Jane. For just to preface, there is actually a bit on that where I've been noticing. I saw this video years ago, and it talked about how all the erasure of gingers in from that are from comic book characters. It actually
I
really
just feel
brought
like
up.
the only issue that I'm hearing come out of the conversation is just that like, if they're black or if they're gay or if they're basically not white, cis, male, whatever, they have to have something special that defines them in order for it to be not like woke as you define it. Does that make sense?
I get you. I get you saying. Yeah, yeah. So
And I just
it's
don't know if
more
that's the
so about
case.
how it's articulated, really. And I think it's about how it's articulated and how layers up to be. Like for example, you can go right to the verse or like for example, Cobra Kai, even though really all every conflict and every solution could have been solved from just sitting down and having a civil conversation. Honestly, I don't know if any of you guys even watch that show, but really good. But I feel like in to a degree, it's also in that realm. Like I think if
I guess like I like maybe a more pertinent question is like, do you understand like your or do you think there's a valid value uh for like the default of what a normal average video game character should be?
personally, I don't think mm, that's actually a really good question because I think it also boils down to the context of what game the developer is trying to make. And of course, it really depends all on the context. And I feel like that question's a bit difficult to answer without the proper context. If that makes sense? Like it needs to be like for example, I don't think mm, I don't even know if that would even work. I think if like MMORPGs, I think in a good sense it doesn't matter. You can be whoever hell you want to be because you're playing as you and you are the MC.
Yeah. Well,
Unless
also just role playing games in general, probably, right? I would say like
not always. Not always.
I mean, but that's like
Um
a or I mean
I'm thinking
not
MMORPGs,
always, but
not
that's like a
regular. I I'm saying for MMOs.
Sure.
where you can create your own character,
I mean,
do whatever the hell.
Isn't the idea behind like role playing games to like role play as a role? Sorry.
I mean, yes, but typically, I think you're talking about like two different. It depends on the era, because not every retro game from like PS1, PS2 had custom create character.
Well, yeah, I'm not necessarily talking about like a character creator, but like being able to pick your like class or job, or like
I mean,
alter your appearance and stuff, like or it's
you
just like
not
it sets you up
always
to
you
be
can.
like to role
I
play
get
as
you. I
a
get
you
you.
know yeah
Yeah,
like
but
like
not
like Final Fantasy
always do
doesn't
they
really have a
have.
character. Sorry, go
Yeah. Not they don't always have character. I mean, I get what you're saying because you have roles and stuff like white mage, red mage, blue mage, red mage, swordsman, duelist, that sort of ordeal. I get what you're saying there, but those are classes. I mean, like being able to physically modify and change your character to like say character customization Cyberpunk 2077 or Saints Row. You can do that. That in that sense, in some sort of aspect, there is a piece of you in the game. So in that sense, I get what you're saying, but not every game has that.
Yes. Okay.
That VM becomes a very
Yeah,
slippery
yeah.
slope.
But like, I mean, well, I
You
mean,
can,
sure. Like, there does exist a spectrum in between of role playing games. From
oh
like you
yeah,
can make your
sure.
own like custom from like Dark Souls, which is an RPG.
I actually do have those. I have the trilogy, yes.
Yeah, yeah, and you can make whatever the fuck you want, and and it doesn't
Mostly.
matter. It has zero impact on the story, and like or even something like Skyrim or Oblivion, where like you just get to you're given a blank slate to create whatever the fuck you want.
I did hear that with Demon Souls they got rid of the body types. Like the male and female body types, and they call them like body type 1, body type 2.
Yeah, sure.
I think that's weird, but
I mean, sure. I mean, whatever. It's not.
yeah, that's
It's not
whatever.
wrong. Whatever.
It's
I
just
don't care.
weird.
Sure. I
I don't
mean,
care about it either. I just think it's weird.
yeah, yeah. You, but I don't think that necessarily. Like whatever. It's not wrong. Like I don't know. There's also face like 1 through 78, and some of them are more
Like head
male-ish or female-y.
640 fucking 2, hairstyle 866 with a Nico knee ponytails.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I don't
let's
necessarily
be
have an
real.
issue with them like changing the default settings of like like your base class of like here's do you want to start from like this direction or this direction, whatever. It is a type 1 and a type 2, and I don't think it matters like which one's which, and like I don't know.
I don't think it really matters all that much. I mean, in that context.
For sure. Cool.
But I
So like
think in a
yeah,
more,
but
I
like
think it
again,
matters in a much more structured context.
or but
I
do you, I
believe.
mean do you think that people are going to be confused about what like gender or sorry, about what like body type like 1 and 2 kind of represents, or
It depends on the game and manufacturer.
I okay, I don't really know what that,
Like
or so
for example, there was I don't know what game it is with like pronouns and stuff, like to the extreme, like Zay Zer, I think, which I don't even know what that even is.
it's a
Does body type
Caesar.
2 have tits and ass?
Um, yeah, just like
Just if body type 2 had tits and ass, because then it wouldn't be that hard to understand if like you're trying to figure out the difference between the two body types.
oh, then yeah,
Well,
yes, obviously, of course. But what I'm saying is on a for games that don't allow that type of creativity, that don't have a character creation suite, that you are playing through a lens of a single character that isn't like open world, that's more the story is more so linear. I think it then becomes a bit murky.
Well, sure, but like again, if the story stars someone who is like white, straight, and cis versus someone who is like black, gay, and trans, like if the story is really good, like, does that necessarily matter that much to you?
I think if the story is well written, then
It
it
shouldn't
doesn't
matter
matter.
like who
Don't
is
think
in
it
that role
matters
that
at
goes
all.
through it, right?
Yeah, it
Okay,
doesn't really matter.
for
But
sure.
what is typically like a caveat that lots of people use, especially developers or movie makers, it's commonly placed, is whenever it fails and it's a flop, that's typically the fallback that lots of these people fall under instead of taking accountability, realizing where they messed up, and improving on their product. I mean, a good example of this is look at Sonic the Hedgehog. The initial design was butt ugly, and in fact was even referenced in Chip and Dale, Adventures of Chip and Dale, and that movie. I think what was it? Yeah,
Wait, are you talking about
it was
Sonic
that
the
movie.
Hedgehog the movie?
Yeah, it's reference to in reference to um a studio that ended up taking criticism from the fans, workshopped their idea, improved on themselves instead of using it as a fallback to insult fans and people of the product. And look where it's at now. It's they gotta make their fourth movie.
So that sounds super woke to me personally. Like they catered to like the public opinion, but as long as they cater to the right one, then it's good. Or I
No, more so like lots of the time they what developers will do is that they'll go ahead and censor and change stuff for quote unquote the modern audience.
so can
When
you give me like some specific examples of like stuff that's censored? Or I mean, so again,
oh, for
when you
example,
say censor, like what if they just didn't want to put that in their game? Like, is that censoring? Or like I don't.
I think when it comes to say like a newer game that's like a fresh idea from the ground up, eh, it depends on what the game is initially, what rating were they trying to go for. There are with that question, there are unknown variables that are undefined to properly articulate a proper response to that. But
Sorry.
if I were to give you an example from on top of my head, are you aware? Have you seen or heard of a game called Onimusha?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, okay, perfect. So you're aware that Capcom is releasing a new Onimusha game 2026, right?
Oh. I mean, Capcom is has not remade fucking Dino Crisis yet, so no, I don't know about their Onimusha fucking reboot.
Oh yeah, it was revealed at the Game Awards last year.
Oh well,
Just like how Sega's also revitalizing a ton of their old IPs. New Virtua Fighter, Shinobi, Golden Axe, surprising. Streets of Rage game, not surprised. A few other ones off the top of my head. Although, unfortunately, they're not making a new Game Ground. So I'm a little upset too, my fucking fifis. But that's neither here nor there. I'll just go ahead and be eternally fucking screaming in my pillow, be like, damn it should have been me! Come on, man! But I hear you, as a Dino Crisis fan, you guys are getting cucked hard.
right, yeah. Listen, they're working on
Ah,
the whatever. There's a fan made upscale thing. That's okay.
damn, I am so sorry.
Yeah, no, it's
I
whatever.
am.
Uh, but
But I think it really matters when it depends on if the game is already established or not, if that makes sense.
I mean,
I
it
think
kind
it'd
of
be
I
much
guess
more
like
beneficial
just
for.
to like kind of ground this out, like like what percentage of a game's success do you think are like mostly unknown variables or like variables that we can't know, and like how much like what percentage of it is like wokeness and what percentage of it is like mechanics and like I don't know like, and I'm not gonna try to tie
like
you down to like
gameplay,
any specific number.
for which I don't consider gameplay as woke, like combat or anything like that. What I think I would consider is much more woke is the plot, if that makes sense.
No, I mean,
Or like,
well, sure, but can you give me
well,
an example of a really woke plot, or like kind of outline like what that would look like?
for like, is that in a general sense?
I mean, yeah,
Okay. Not correlated to just gaming. Okay. There was in Marvel there was this thing called you. Are you familiar with the Warriors?
or not the, or yes, sorry, good.
The new there's a team called the New Warriors, and so there was a guy named Daniel Kibblesmith who ended up was in charge of writing a called the New Warriors. Now I don't know what these ideas. I want a subjective opinion here. Um, when you look at the New Warriors, do you think they actually going to stop crime?
I mean, maybe, I mean, this is a fantastical
That's why
story.
I'm
Like
asking. It's
you know,
not. That's why I'm asking for objective opinion.
yeah. I mean, I like sure, like in
You
some,
want to sit here and tell me, boy, superheroes named Snowflake and Safe Space can actually go ahead and beat crime?
I mean, yeah, they could depending on how the story's written. Like maybe the story's written for them to like fail, and maybe the themes are like, oh, we need to stop doing this stuff. Like again, it this
What
is a
story?
made up story. Like these are fictional characters we're talking about, right? You know,
Of course,
like
yes.
it's just stuff
Of
that
course,
people
these are
like
fictional
made up.
characters. But you
So
asked for an example. Um, like, what's the use of being able to create barriers, but you can't even protect yourself?
it's an interesting like like it's a they're
To
trying to
put,
make a different take on superheroes because we're fucking exhausted of the same fucking 8 powers.
I mean, I'm more so focused on instead of constantly doing remake, try and tell a sequel with what the story you even have in the first place. Like, for example, what I would do for what Batman Beyond, I would actually expand on Terry McGinnis' story afterwards when he's, say, in college, still battling crime. Following after when, say, Bruce Wayne kicks the bucket and wills everything off to him. Because apparently, in this story, in this version of Batman, he doesn't have a son. What I would personally do, I would make that pink-haired girl from the Batman Beyond series. You know the one.
Fuck, not Oracle. Yes, I. All right.
I would make her
It's been a couple
Oracle.
years. Well, I mean, isn't Oracle kind of a forced character? Like they're in a wheelchair. Like, come on.
I mean, before she was Batgirl,
Like, yeah, she
but
was, and then they like went woke and like made her disabled for like no reason.
I mean, she got shot.
Well, yeah. Well, she got shot
She
because
got
of
shot
wokeness.
in this.
She was
That
shot by the
wasn't
bullet of wokeness, and now is in a wheelchair because now
Bola
we need to have
Wokeness. She
people in
was shot by
wheelchairs.
Joker.
Yeah, yeah. They made Joker do
How is
like
Joker
do
woke?
woke violence. Yeah, like the Joker right
Violence
here
is
is basically just
violence.
BLM, like shooting
Violence is
a
violence.
straight white woman. Well, yeah, sure, but like it's
Violence is
violence
violence.
in
Like,
service of wokeness. Like now they have some like she couldn't just die.
okay, okay. So explain to me how it's woke. Getting shot is woke. You mean the bullet? The
No,
bullet's
because
woke?
she's now she's a fucking
I don't understand.
survivor. She's in a wheelchair, and like, yeah, I get it. Like there are like real life people in wheelchairs, but like like come on, like a superhero in a wheelchair. That's kind of crazy.
They made her get shot in order for her to be in a wheelchair, for her to be disabled. That's pretty woke to me.
Joker shot. Joker shot Barbara,
Correct.
which then forced
Because
her to
wokeness.
be in a wheelchair. But before, she was still an integral part of the Bat family.
Yeah, and now they made her like
She was
super
still
smart
fighting
because
too,
she can only sit
was she
down
not?
now.
I think it really depends on which version of the story you're referring to, because there are different spin-offs and the whole DC multiverse, which makes shit really confusing, but also is a good excuse to go ahead and create different stories.
Yeah, and like different stories. Like a gay black trans woman, taking up the mantle and doing a good job of it.
I mean, is there a story well, since we're on the topic of DC, in that sense, is there a DC story that even has that? The only thing I can even think of that comes close to it, that comes to my mind, is probably Batwoman,
I mean, I
the
guess like I
CW
don't.
version of that show.
It's not a. I don't find that to be a very like interesting question because like I don't really care. Like I don't care if Batman is like rich or not. Or, well, rich might be more part of his character, but like I don't really care like what fucking gender or like sexual orientation or whatever the fuck like Batman is. Like as long as he's doing like Batman stuff in the right way and they do
Yeah,
the Joker well,
exactly.
then
That's
like
my
I
point.
like
As long as it's all it's well
yeah.
developed,
But like
then yeah.
again, so I guess when you point at stuff and like oh like wokeness is killing stuff and it's like I feel like you're pointing at stuff that failed in general and then you're like blaming the woke stuff. Like it's like oh well actually like the reason it failed is because it's woke. But like that's just
No,
like a
what I'm
post
saying
hoc
is
rest.
that these people use like stuff like being gay or whatever as like a fallback to shield themselves from criticism. That's what I'm saying.
Who is doing this? Are these like characters in games or are they like developers
No,
or
I mean when it
like
comes
a game
to
fails and they like developers are being
when
like
it
oh it's just
comes to yeah, that's a good question. When it comes to the people who either make games or make media in this sense, it's very common. I can pull some examples if you like.
I mean again I so like did this happen for Ghost of Tsushima or The Last of Us 2? Like again like how prevalent like what is the magnitude of this problem?
The baggage of this
Or
problem.
no, the magnitude. Like if we're talking
The
about third hand
magnitude,
sources of like oh like look every
like
like
how big this problem
yeah,
is.
or, yeah how widespread in the industry is this problem?
What when I ended up noticing this problem was really prevalent. It was, I think, probably 2016. Well, I was still in high school. Now, I would like to say, for me at least, um, and the more I witnessed, I'm like, wait, what? Huh? Like, with first of what I recall, I think the first time I ever noticed this is probably what Ghostbusters 2016, when it was literally the same plot as one, but with an all female cast. When instead, how come you didn't even tell an original story or add on to or give proper context explanation as to why XYZ happened? It's similar with Saints Row, for example, because Saints Row, the remake, was only just a retelling of one,
Well, it was a
basically.
reboot, right? It wasn't a remake.
Oh, sorry.
You're
Sorry.
good.
Thank you for
You're good.
catching me. A reboot of Saints Row
Yeah.
1 with the constant gang wars, the yellow gang, the red gang. I feel it was a green one, but I don't know if it was blue.
For sure. I mean,
Please do correct me if
no, sorry. I
I'm
just I heard it like yeah. If you're doing a remake, like I guess the 2016 Ghostbusters feels more like a remake. It's like oh yeah, we're gonna do it with all girls this time, and yeah, they didn't
but
really do
no
anything
originality.
interesting with that at all, for
Exactly.
sure. Yeah. And you know,
But
like it was a
at
shitty cat.
least
Yeah.
make it where it's say it was like create a brand new villain or something, shake it up, or bring back like one of the originals to teach them how to properly ghost bust, and then you give that sign of approval from the legacy cast to then push them forward into a good standing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so you have creative differences with the writers of the all-female Ghostbusters.
In that sense, yes,
Yeah,
I do.
but like
I wish
but
it
if they wanted
was.
to remake the original Ghostbusters with an all-female cast and they did something cool with it with respect to females, that or or whatever, that shouldn't need to be the default. But like, yeah, like I
If it was done well, of course, then
for sure.
wouldn't
Okay,
have it. People wouldn't have a problem with it.
so again, like
You don't
we're
need
not again.
people to
I feel like we've deflected
go
from the
and
wokeness of it being an all-female cast and like like leapfrogged to the well, as long as it's done
as
well, um,
I,
which again is
I
selecting
mean,
really hard for stuff that doesn't suck.
I'm sorry, what was the last bit you were chuckling there?
You're selecting for like good media, and saying that anything that's like
Yeah,
good in there is
my
mostly not woke, and anything that isn't in there, or anything that's woke that's good, succeeded in spite of it being woke, rather than looking at like, well, there's a lot of stuff that's woke, there's a lot of stuff that's not woke, and they probably fail at an equal rate. And so to blame wokeness is kind of nonsensical.
Hmm. I don't really think it's really nonsensical because I mean these problems are still really are prevalent
Well,
in
so
today's
did God
media
of
today.
War Ragnarok fail, like commercially?
To commercially fail.
Yeah. Like did Alan Wake 2 like commercially fail?
Actually, well, Alan Wake 2, I'm glad you brought that up. I did research on that, and Alan Wake 2 didn't even, barely even broke profit.
Okay, so I mean,
It only
it
after
wasn't
2
it
years.
wasn't a commercial bomb at the very least.
I mean,
It
but
made
I
more
mean,
money than
if
it
you
costs,
were
right?
a,
Which is like,
I'm thinking, I'm thinking like this: if you are making a, you are making a movie, or you're making a game, a show, or you're making a game, even for a sense. Profit margins are a clear indication to see if a show or how about I should say this? It's one of the margins that people use or even investors use to decide if a product is well received or not. Wouldn't
for
you say
sure.
so?
Well, yes, but I would say that
Um,
there's probably like a pretty clear demarcation at like the like did it cost more money than it earned? Uh, like between. I mean, obviously,
like is it
we
like
wouldn't call something that broke even like a smashing success, but if you made back
yeah,
exactly every penny that you paid to make something, like that's not necessarily a failure, right? Like that would be like neutral.
but neutral isn't good though.
Correct.
I mean, being
That's why we call
neutral
it
is
neutral.
neutral. It's not
Well,
like
yeah. Well,
being excellent or being great.
sure, but
That's
like
where you typically want to be.
there are at least like three groups here, right? Like there is good, there's neutral, and there's bad, right?
Yeah, there's good, bad, and shitty.
Yeah.
And
Or well,
it
so any
wouldn't
so
you barely getting by? Would you consider barely getting by okay?
I mean, for many or for a lot of scenarios, like yeah, like I mean, it's okay enough, I guess.
So you would consider barely okay. Just to confirm, you would consider barely making it by the skin of your teeth.
Not
Consider it a
failing.
success.
I mean, yeah, in terms of not failing, like yeah, like what you call a doctor who got all C minuses in medical school?
I feel like it's like I feel like you're setting up for a joke.
I mean, it's a joke, but it's also real.
I don't. I
A doctor who
I
got
don't
all
know if you
A's
want
and
a
a doctor
rhetorical
who got all
answer,
C's in
or
medical
if you
school.
want or a sensical one.
I mean, whichever one you'd like, I guess.
Don't you give me riddles and shit. Fuck.
Yeah. Anyway, a doctor who passed medical school with C's versus a doctor who passed medical school with like A's or B's. They're all called doctor. So like,
I mean, yeah,
yeah. So like,
obviously, but
like obviously there's a difference between like barely making it and thriving. In the same way, that there's a difference between barely making it and failing miserably.
you would more so trust someone who is, quote unquote, as you say, thriving, who truly knows what they're doing, than someone who just is getting by.
Or,
Because, say, for
when you say
example,
trust, I don't
say
really know what
that
that means.
doctor,
You know,
huh?
I don't know what you mean by when you say like, oh, you would trust someone who's thriving versus getting by, or just barely getting by. Like, I don't really know what that means. Like, I don't know. There's a
In
lot of shitty
regards
people who
to,
are thriving, and a lot of good people that are barely getting by. So I
I
wouldn't
mean,
necessarily
in the
use that to
reference
judge
to
people.
the example that you use as what being a doctor,
Yeah.
for example, grade school. This is what I'm referring to, just so we have a contextual consensus, right? Comparatively to someone who just got by versus someone who was thriving, would you trust someone who, say, for example, who's treating you or say a loved one who, I don't know, what would be a good scenario to base this off of? Say, for
Hang
example,
on.
you're
Sorry.
injured,
Uh,
bedridden,
can I have
injured.
like 2 seconds or like 2 minutes? Or
Oh,
I need to
fuck.
run away for like 2 seconds. Is that okay?
Shit, go ahead. You do
Oh,
you.
cool. Sorry.
You gonna mute or should I mute? You know you can speak, Peach, right?
Yeah, I'm here.
You know you can speak.
Yeah. I'm just having
Oh.
fun. I mean, I'm just listening.
Oh, do you go color? Whatever you do.
What's up?
I'm fucking quiet. Most of the time I'm just lurking because my autistic ass is just everywhere.
No, I'm quiet. I can be
You're fine.
quiet.
No, you're
See?
fine. You're fine. You're just abnormally fucking quiet. You're just like, yeah, I get you. No worry. Your point's coming
It's
up.
different. I'm just having fun. Oh wait, really? I still have a part in all of this?
Yeah, I actually want to use you to go ahead and compare statistical data. I know that you aren't, how should I say, your degree is maths, correct? So there is this bit that I came across, love him, hate him, as we go cover that, and he brought up so I was going to correlate this to the rigging of how when it comes towards more Asian-oriented media, um, lots of people revere more hatred towards it. Which, honestly, I think, man, that Stop Asian Hate shit. I think it needs to be brought back for these people. Because my God.
Oh damn! Wait, what happened? I don't even know.
So here's the context. So the Black Myth Wukong. I remember you bringing up in chat. Black Myth Wukong was actually was nominated to be for Game of the Year. And so what they did was IGN was actually hosted the voting poll. And the way how it was structured, it was based off of a versus system. So two choices would be brought in front of the voter. And you could select one of them. So it would be a versus system 1v1. So one would go up in ratings and one would go down, right?
Uh-huh.
So someone ended up whipping out a full-on Excel sheet explaining how there was something funky with the votes, and and even in real time brought up statistical data. And I wanted to run this by you to confirm when time comes right. I'll actually
Mhm.
just pull it up right now and send that to you if I can find it.
Shit, yeah, send it.
Sure thing. Oh.
Wait. Wait. Real quick. A quick question. Who do you think won the 2020 election?
Huh?
Based on the statistical analysis of the data, who do you think won the 2020 election? Just curious. No judgment.
Who won the 2020 election? I mean, I don't think I voted in that election. I was working the polls that time, but I didn't vote.
Yeah, but I mean, like, who do you think won the 2020 election based on the available evidence?
I think both are shady. Both sides.
You think both sides won?
So I didn't. Like I said, I genuinely think both sides were actually really, really shady.
Okay, maybe a better question. Who do you think won the 2024 election?
Everything won the 2024 election?
Yeah.
Trump.
Oh.
I mean,
wait.
Based off of everything
Okay.
what was going on.
So, like, based off of, or I mean,
I feel like,
or I mean, you don't think there was more funny business like on their side, especially given the context of the 2020 election?
oh, do I think there's any funny fuddy-duddy fucky wucky business?
Yeah, the party who demanded.
Could you hold that for a second?
Yeah,
I'm trying to find something really quickly. Hold on, just 1 second. Is this it? Is this it? Hold on, mute. Oh. Okay, I found it.
Sure, hit me with it.
Hold on, wait a minute. Huh? Wait a minute. Pickles was in here?
Pickles Nathan?
Yeah.
Yeah. You not know Pickles Nathan?
I know who he is. I just didn't know he was in this. How the hell did he hear?
What? Oh, yeah, sorry. I met Pickles Nathan in real life.
No, that's completely fine. How the hell did he hear about this? Because I didn't hear an extra ping of him entering the chat.
Oh, wait.
Is he on your live
What do you
stream?
mean in this chat? Or he He
I
never
mean, on
joined.
Discord in this debate section.
He's
In the
not.
news section, I was just about to post the link for my evidence. Pickles Nathan ended up hearing about Black Myth Wukong being mentioned.
Yeah. I said it earlier. I was streaming, and Pickles Nathan follows me. Also,
Oh,
yeah.
that makes sense. I was about to say, I thought I didn't hear extra ping. I didn't see his name. I thought that because I had my phone screen turned off at the time and I was muted, that there was a ping of him entering in while we were talking
Oh
or
no.
while I was away. That's why I was like, wait, what
Gotcha.
the hell?
He didn't join the VC. He just yeah.
Okay.
He's been listening.
So this is the video that I was referencing, by the way. It talks about Black Myth Wukong in regards to also the mainstream media trying to paint a false narrative.
Didn't Black Myth
I can
Wukong
also
do gangbusters at the fucking?
because the thing is though is that they got caught manipulating votes, even when they put it in place, but in the hands of the gamers. Like to this point where someone actually whipped out a Microsoft Excel sheet, punching the numbers and shit. Like how I just I this is where I need Peach to make sense of this. So at one, I know you don't do statistics. This is where you're needed. 117 to 118. Someone actually whips out a full-on Excel sheet with times and in detail explaining the statistics and how the voting system worked. Now, Black Myth Wukong, even though it was head of all of the other candidates, ended up getting dropped, embodied over the course of the next coming hours near the end of the voting poll. But the thing is, though, how it's structured is that it is, as I said before, it's on a versus system. So it's pit against two candidates. So the system is of two candidates, and you select one or the other. And one rate, if one goes up, the other, whatever maybe, goes down, right?
Yeah. By fungibility, I guess.
Well, honestly, I recommend you watching the video too, because the video you have context, they explain it much better. Honestly, and for my opinion, I could do.
I
So
don't think how many awards anything wins is a necessarily like a direct function of how good it is. Like I care about like good games. I don't really, like I
of
would like them to win
of
awards, but
course,
like
but the
again,
point,
like I've
the,
yet to see a game like that's whose mechanics have suffered. That's like fun. Like, oh, but you play as a gay black trans woman or whatever. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Question mark.
are there any that do?
Who cares? Like if I
I
pointed
don't.
to like literally any of them, like you would be like, well, like woke, so it's bad, or but yeah, I mean, God of
No,
War
I would.
Ragnarok, Spider-Man
What I
2, and
would
Alan Wake
do
2 all have
is
black people in them.
I wouldn't. No, let's circle back on that, okay? You could you repeat that statement before you brought up God of War Ragnarok? Could you repeat that anecdote, please?
Yeah, I guess or sorry, I'm trying to understand like your.
No, just state that what you said before, please. I didn't catch that. All I heard was God of War Ragnarok, which I wanted to go ahead and touch on that base as well.
Or you want me to name a game that has like this sort of protagonist, but like I don't think I don't think that matters at all.
That's I was saying that what I was going to say is that um in that sense, I think that like I stated before, the story should be first. The story and the plot can go ahead and make everything make sense.
Oh, sure. Okay. So
Um,
is forgiveness woke?
Wait, what is the story? I'm sorry, what is the story? Because you have
Oh,
the story and then the wokeness comes afterwards, but like, what is the story? Does it make sense?
I think if a story is well structured enough, um, I think
What about the story that structures it for the white cis male? What does that structure look like in order to set that up, in order for it to be the case that a white cis male is the most appropriate character for that role?
wait, it's this male.
Yeah, so like when you're saying that the structure has to be set up in order for it to be the case that it makes sense for that character to fit that
Well,
role,
no,
what
no,
I'm
what I'm
wondering
saying
is
is,
like in the like male, you can just say male or you can say white or you can say
what
any of
was
those, but like what is the structure that sets it up for that to be the most appropriate case instead of like, let's say that like, because I keep like feeling the sense that it's like the default, if we keep thinking about like the default role, right?
I
What if the
don't
default
put
role was
default
like the black
anything.
male? You know what I mean? Well, no,
I was
but it's like, what is it about the roles of each character or the characteristics of each person that make it such that that is the most appropriate role for them? Do you know what I'm trying to say? Because I feel like we don't really have that sort of situation when it comes to the white male, which is kind of like the problem, right? Because it's just kind of like they are the default. You know what I mean? And so that's what I'm kind of having a hard time
trying to.
understanding when it comes to wokeness, where it's like when we talk about, so like, what if, for example, we had a black male character or whatever, like, and it feels like there has to be some sort of storyline to set it up in order for that to be the most appropriate choice. Whereas if you have like okay, let's say you're writing a video game story about like a person running through or prancing through the fields of a forest, like killing bunnies or something. Like, is that default
You think
the
some brave type shit?
right?
You literally
And
just
so
said upon beginning upon brave. Like, if you could change fate, would you? Like,
well, like what I mean is
I
like
just
it feels like that character is like a white man, but then the second that the character is like a black man, there has to be like a storyline to make it make sense that they decided to make that character a black male. Does that make
I
sense?
think story matters in every aspect, disregarding of.
But is there a story every single time that there is a video game written such that the character has to be a certain color, race,
Not that
gender, or what am I, a sexual orientation? Like, you know what I'm trying to say?
I
Like, why
think I
can't it just
feel
be the
what you're
case
trying
that
to
it's like a
say.
black trans male or something?
I get what you're trying to say. I think what you're trying to say is there a story where that type of character archetype actually exists? And
Yeah,
also, if it has to be always that sort of sense.
kind of. I think so. Yeah, I think that's where I'm getting at. Sorry.
I think that's what you're saying. I
Yeah.
don't. I'm not trying to misquote you or
No.
misspeak
I
out
think
of
you're
turn
correct.
here, but as much as I've been talking for probably a good couple hours, I've lost brain cells.
No,
Um,
you're fine. I'll put him back in for you.
no.
No, you seem to
Trust
be
me, honey.
doing
I
fine,
really
truly.
haven't. My brain is still right now, to be frank, trying to deal with my fucking PC, gaming laptop, fucking up for probably a good 30 minutes. So, trust me, Peach, it's a Jew. So, back to what Peach was saying. Um, what would it fit in that context? That is a toughie. My God. Oh, I think that the story, if a story is well written, well narrated enough, it all the pieces will fall into place. It's like if a poorly written story has a ton of plot holes. Like, for example, um, what was a good story that has a
Can
ton
I
of
ask you a
plot
question? I'm sorry.
holes?
If it's a poorly written plot hole, yet the man, or I'm sorry, yet the character is a white male. I just feel like we don't talk about the race or ethnicity or the gender if it is the case that the main character just happens to be a white male. Do you see what I'm trying to say? But then the second
Oh,
it's a
okay.
poorly written
I think I get what you're
story
saying.
and the character is a black female, then we talk about the black female, right? Am I wrong?
Are you
Because
saying
that's
that
what I kind of feel like when we talk about wokeness, like, oh, well, the storyline has to fit. Well, like,
I,
is there a storyline that really is only carved out for a particular archetype normally, you know?
I think a really good example of that sense is when they talked about the Woolworth sit-ins with like the Umbrella Academy. I think even though it fit the timepiece, it fit the narrative, in even though it was really woke and radical, it actually fit the plot because if you watch from season 2 to 3, they went back in time to try and avoid apocalyptic future, pretty much. I believe that's what the plot of season 2 to 3 was. I think that'd be a good example of that sense, but is I feel like you're also are asking if there's like a lack that there is a lack thereof as well, which I think in the narrative aspect, I can see that perspective. There is, holy shit, there's quite a bit that's lacking thereof. Now that I think
I
about it.
guess here, so like, okay, so like, I can't necessarily talk about like video games that already exist because I feel like you guys, I mean, definitely, totally, are like way above my head and all of that. But if I were to say like, okay, you guys talking about Spider-Man a few times. If we have like Spider-Man as the leading role of like Spider-Man 2 or whatever, then all of a sudden we have like Spider Woman and she has like tits and whatever. Like I just feel
Spider-Woman
like
does exist.
I'm sorry, say that?
Spider-Woman actually does exist.
Yeah, she has egg
Okay.
sacs.
See,
They're not tits.
oh, see, I had no idea.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but like
And
I
the
guess like
character does exist, like in story.
I guess
Sorry.
like what I no, you're totally fine. I'm gonna look into that. She sounds like she would be very attractive given the spider suit. I'm interested.
Oh,
Yes. What I'm
I mean the
wondering
comic
is
book universe or the cinematic, because those like two different entities, and then
oh,
they
I see.
also have like different universe on top of that. Like hell, I was talking about Super Sentai with you. Battle Fever J, the third Super Sentai series, is actually its own official Marvel universe.
Oh, okay,
So
thanks. Okay. Okay,
there's
okay,
that.
okay.
And
Okay,
there's
so let's
also
say
like all Japanese Spider-Man as Spider-Man, where they actually fights like in like an actual has a full robot and everything because they were like the people who, because of Marvel's influence, ended up having robots in Super Sentai. How we have in Power Rangers too, so that's like a whole big can of worms in
are
itself.
the robots
But
woke as well?
are the robots? What the hell? Huh?
I'm just wondering, how do you get to the point in
Robot
a
thing. Whoa, whoa, whoa,
storyline?
whoa, whoa, whoa. I mean,
I apologize. I didn't mean
I
to
what?
go rogue
What?
there. I truly have no idea what I am saying.
What
I
robots
meant that as
being
a
woke?
joke.
What the hell?
I
Hold
meant
up.
that as a joke.
Time
I'm so
out.
sorry,
Time
my
out.
friend. My friend, it's a joke.
I'm gonna hit you with.
My
I'm gonna
friend,
hit you with
my
that.
friend.
Hold up. I'm about to hit you with that Phoenix Wright. Hold it. Objection. For a second there. How the hell are robots woke?
It's
I
a
mean,
joke.
there is an
It's
instance where
literally I don't
there's.
have an answer. It was literally just a joke.
Okay. Because I was actually gonna reference there's this joke on this show, Lupin Ranger vs. Pat Ranger, which is the 40. They're like two different Sentais in one going head to head against each other. The theme was cops and robbers. Episode 10 actually. So
No, I get it, and you would
this is
totally school me. But I guess like the thing
no
that
no no no
I'm
no.
just saying I have a
Let
hard
me
time
finish.
with.
This plot's
Okay,
really
go.
funny.
Yeah. Okay.
There is there's this monster that has the ability to change genders and hits the men and women of the police team, Pat Rangers, with a beam that changed the men and the chicks and the single chick to a man. And so their powers were they can still transform, fight, use their suits and whatnot, but they had to deal with many complications that the opposite sex had.
Is
This
that woke?
also correlated then into the actual robot fight, because you know how they're on ground and then fighting the robot fight. So the team, I believe it was the Lupin Rangers episode. They fought with summoned this weapon, but they were able to use on ground and also in mech. It was the sword and shield weapon. It was like auxiliary weapon. So the monster hit the sword part of the sword and shield with the beam, the gender changing beam. You know what it turned into?
But is that woke? Is that woke though? Is it woke? Because it sounds like it fits the storyline, so it would make sense. So is it woke if it fits the storyline? They had the robots changing the genders.
No, not the robots didn't change gender. The weapon changed gender
Okay, well the weapon changed gender. Is that
to a
woke?
hammer.
Because it sounds like they had a storyline that matched it. So I guess in what situation is it the case that it's no longer woke because the storyline makes sense?
I think like I stated before, I think the only time when it does become that sense is when how do I say this? It's poorly written and it takes away value from the story. That's just one episode out of an entire series. Typically, with shows like Tokusatsu, which are very heavily political, especially like with Ultraman from the 60s, because Ultraman, when it was during the first couple series, actually did dive into pretty political stuff. Um, I never really watched many of the older Ultraman shows because they are very the pacing on them is much slower than if you were to watch something like a newer Ultraman show, like, to put an example, Ultraman Orb, or say, what's the last one I've actually watched? Trigger? But I don't even know or if I would consider that really in that sense, because Trigger, it was more so like a retelling of a new generation of a already existing Ultra, which the to explain how that all works, they were Ultras and like how it initially worked. It's a very, very, I think it'll probably be a whole stream in itself. Um so with like the Ultraman from the 90s and 2000s up to like, because there's so many different movies and there's so many different plots. What is it? Mainly in the 90s, the whole plot of the Ultraman were is that there is the lack of light. They're they're on this planet, right? Are you guys following me? Just for perspective, because I wasn't expecting to actually talk about Ultraman.
I'm not super familiar with Ultraman Trigger, to be very honest with you.
Ultraman in general
Or
is
I'm
what
not
I was
very familiar with
referring to.
Ultraman. I mean, like, but I know that the Power Rangers and Ultraman are, spiritually linked somehow.
No. That's Kamen Rider Super Sentai. The Ultraman was far before Kamen Rider and Super Sentai. But it came out in 1966.
Oh,
How
yeah.
Power Rangers came about is it started off with Super Sentai. Super Sentai, what it was originally supposed to be, was a full team of Kamen Riders. That was the original plot point of the first series, Himitsu Sentai Go Ranger, which Shotaro Ishimori, the creator of Kamen Rider Super Sentai, he loved this idea so much, he turned Super Sentai, or Himitsu Sentai Go Ranger, to its own entity. That's how
Okay.
that came to be.
Okay.
Ultraman is a completely different field. That's more in the field of Godzilla, which is also Tokusatsu.
Sure. Okay. Listen, I feel like we've like we might have strayed from the beaten path here.
That is
I
my fault.
Shut up, Peach. No one fucking asked you.
Oh,
Okay?
sorry, what?
I was telling Peach to shut up, and then she was yelling at me to, about how abusive and annoying I am.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
Jeez.
I don't know. Like, she's just
Like,
unhinged. um,
damn, D1 crash out. Jeez.
right.
Are you in a fucking boxing ring?
I'm
Go at
crashing
it.
out. Send me to Creator Clash.
No. I'd rather send you to Josh Burnett's Bloodsport.
So they sold it. They sold Creator Clash. I don't know, like, why you want to get sent there. That, like,
No, I would never send you there. Boxing, too generic. You need some. I mean, you can do only so much with arms.
I need
You
some
also-
Jello and some mud.
in lab.
What the fuck? Jello and mud? No, I mean, like, what I'm saying is you two should go shoot fight. If you're going to go at it. I mean, not just.
All I'm saying is I'm
boxing,
hungry
I mean,
and Jello tastes
don't
real
just limit
good.
yourself. What? No. What? Huh? No, what I'm saying is,
I'm just kidding. I appreciate you.
in defense, honestly, you should be able to at least kick at least. I mean, to be fair, if you two really want to go at it, fuck it. I'll
Whoa,
actually
wait.
promote that.
We're trying to be culturally appropriate here and not woke, is the thing. So,
Wait, who can I fight? Wait, do you know someone that I can fight?
Wait, you want me to give you someone you can fight?
Me and a girl and a pile of Jello. How much money can we make, and can we make it happen?
You two and Jello.
Yeah, you find the person who I would be able to, like, like in my class, whatever, fit weight or whatever, and I will make it happen.
Oh no, I do open weight.
I'm
Personally,
not
for
gonna
me,
say you. I'm asking for.
I'm saying in general
someone
too,
in
man and
my
women. I prefer
size.
open weight.
Okay. Anyways, I'm sorry. Continue with your conversation. I'm gonna.
Just,
Okay, but a lot.
just saying, like, damn, you can. Doesn't matter. Wait, you can still whoop somebody's ass.
okay, we were
I'm sorry.
talking about black
I
trans
have
women in
nothing
Jello.
to fucking say now.
Okay,
At this
so listen,
point.
would you
What
play
the fuck?
the world's best fighting game if it was all like, like if the entire cast of the fighting game was black gay trans women who were fighting in mud and or Jello? It depended on what
Mud
kind of
and
experience you
Jello.
wanted to
Why
create.
the fuck does it have to be mud and Jello? First and foremost.
We can put in other fluids if you want. I'm not trying to limit you,
Why
dog.
we gotta
I'm not
put
trying to
fluids
judge
in
you,
the
dog.
fucking
Like I don't care what you're into. I'm
Why
trying to
the
talk about
fuck are you
the
putting-
substance of the
talking
point
about
here.
Jello and fighting. Jello and fighting should not even mix. Okay. Now, what the hell? Not saying it can. You're saying that it cannot.
No, but you are saying it ought not. Okay, so that's like a way more fundamental difference that we have. Are you saying people shouldn't do mud and or Jello wrestling?
It's more so like, what the fuck?
Wait, no. Do you think that mud and or Jello wrestling should be illegal?
I think it should be illegal.
Yes. Do you think it should
What
be
the
illegal?
fuck?
Like what? Listen. Sorry, I thought this was America.
I mean, you can do whatever the fuck you want. I mean, I'm gonna think that's odd how those two can mix. I mean, I've never seen a mud and Jello fight. Have you?
I cannot confirm or. I mean, listen. I'm not.
I mean, have you? Please show me. Please send that shit to me.
No,
Listen,
I can't send you a real life experience, okay?
Well, then why are you bringing it up then?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. Real life doesn't matter in here. Like, we should just ignore reality.
What? I mean, since she brought it up and you want to use this as an example, I'm curious to see that shit if it actually exists.
Jello fighting?
Clip.
No, mud and Jello fighting.
No, I sorry. Mud and or those are two
No,
distinct
both
categories
at the
of
same
things.
time.
Oh, I mean,
Both
well,
at the
that
same
would
time.
be like, you know,
I want to see that
innovative.
shit. Show me.
Okay, so like muddy Jello fighting, like you need to be shown evidence that like, you know, like they're like people have fought.
No, I know the Jello fights exist. I mean, on the context of mud, both at simultaneously, a mud and Jello fight, a mud Jello fight. Now, that would be
Would a
something
mud
else.
Jello fight be woke? If there wasn't like a good enough reason for the story for it to be a mud and Jello fight?
It was like what, a fighting game?
Sure.
A fighting game is more so about the combat and game mechanics. That's what it's really more so about. Not many people, I mean, you go look at a game like Virtual Fighter, for example, even though not many people even know about the lore, there's quite a bit of it.
I mean, yeah, sure.
It's only until now that with Virtual Fighter, the new Virtual Fighter games coming out, Virtual Fighter 6, they're actually now gearing towards actually telling a cohesive and narrative story. Most people don't ever think about, unless like an anime fighter, then there's already a story then and there in itself. But if you're talking about on a traditional sense, because anime fighters, most people don't even consider those as real fighters.
Wait, so
Okay.
any fighter without a sufficient story explaining why the women can beat the men would be woke, right? Because that's historically inaccurate, or
Historically inaccurate. What?
or
What?
doesn't match
Why are
up
you
with
bringing up
reality, I guess.
history in this when you're talking about game? I mean, well, I'm sorry. Could you please repeat the question?
Or sorry, that was a poorly formed question. I
Because you're bringing up like two different things. You're talking about how you asked me if how women can't beat up the men in say what a anime fighter, which by the way,
no, like in Mortal
oh,
Kombat.
Mortal Kombat or Mortal Kombat. Ah, fuck.
Yeah,
I
is
thought you
like
were referencing
because
like say like
Kitana can
Naruto or
fatality
like
Liu
Ninja
Kang.
Storm or like for example Dragon Ball or like Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3. There are already characters who are already hey, that's murky in itself because do people even consider most people, especially the FGC, don't really see many anime fighters as actual fighting games. Most people I mean, most people play say like a One Piece Pirate Warriors. At least for me, at least I play One Piece Pirate Warriors 4 to understand this. Excuse me, to understand the plot of the story to get caught up. I mean, with say like One Piece, it you cut lots of anime have filler. You know this, right?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I had a notification. They have buttloads of filler. Sometimes where to gratuitous amounts where the filler doesn't even make sense. But in some cases, do the filler also does lead to potential story avenues later on, and some that could be circled back upon and touched up on, which is how I would say the one thing which I would say that anime in general, anime fighters in general, actually does better than regular traditional fighting games. Some in that sense do have really good they do have like really good well kept secrets. Like for example, are you familiar with Tekken 7?
He or is that the newest one with the like city
7, not
thing?
8.
Oh, gotcha. Vaguely. Wait,
If I may ask, how familiar are you with 7?
I'm I'm white, so I don't play fighting games.
Huh?
I said I'm white, so I don't play fighting games.
You play fighting games because you're white. Why didn't you pick one up? Anyone
Oh,
can do it.
it's just a cultural thing, you know.
No, I don't. Elaborate.
Oh, do you not know a lot of like really good like fighting game players who are black?
What?
So if you go look at like the leaderboard for who's the green guy in Street Fighter, the like the green Hulk looking dude, I forget his name, the orange hair, Grappa or something.
I don't really play Street Fighter, to be honest.
Oh,
I don't
well,
play 2D mostly.
Blanca. Oh yeah,
But I can
Blanca.
tell you like
So yeah, like the number one Blanca
I
player in the world is
actual
black.
players. I can hear about players. Lil
Yeah.
Majin's really good. Number one player, the number one Mortal Kombat player. I think he ended up winning. He's been very dominant. I don't think anyone's even been able to best him. Actually, two of the best Mortal Kombat players are actually black. I believe.
Okay. Can you name me any like
Um,
white champion fighting game players? Or can you name more white or black fighting game like championship level players?
champion level. Champion level varies, and it also depends on the fighting game as well.
Yeah, sure. So is Lil Majin is like what ethnicity are they?
Low Majin's black.
Oh, okay. For sure. And
Um,
the Birdman, like the number one Blanca player in the world. You know what?
who?
Uh
I don't know.
the
Like I
Birdman?
said, I don't know who that person is. I don't.
Gotcha.
Like I said, I don't keep up with Capcom fighting games.
Fair enough. Anyway, sorry, I'm derailing.
Sorry, I don't. Like I said, I don't. In essence, I don't know. If it was maybe say something like, you need to give me another example.
I mean, I feel like the like fighting game and uh uh like Smash Brothers space. There's a lot of, like a lot of black people in that space, don't you think? Even though like 13% of the U.S. population is black, I feel like they represent like 80% of the or like 50% of the fighting game like championships winning.
You feel like they do.
Yeah,
I mean, even though the um lots of the how do I say this? Lots of the tournaments, like the major ones, like say for example, a premium dogfight, which is for the Gundam Extreme Versus games. That's predominantly Asian, but that's typically because Bandai Namco loves hogging. They love to hog. They're pretty much your best game that has been dominating the arcades for over a decade plus now. Um, I don't, I don't know what it would be like if we actually. Well, how do I put this? In some cases, we have some hands-on experience to a degree, but those are only the games that they allow us to have. If that makes sense. Like like in in that sense, they're like generations ahead of us, like game version wise. How do I put this in perspective? What we got was pretty much based off of technicality that we it was more so out of inconvenience because you remember COVID, right?
I have no idea what you're talking about. What wasn't that just the flu? I'm sorry. Joke. Yeah, I
Well,
remember COVID.
yeah. So you're talking. your context was that how hold on, I need to plug my phone. Shit, my phone's about to die. You were talking about the context of how predominantly tons of the players in said FGC were what?
Disproportionately black.
Disproportionately black. My take is when it comes to players, it's based off of the skill, right?
Yeah, and
It
black people are
doesn't
better
matter,
at fighting games than white people.
and
Seems.
you know what? Skill is indecisive. It doesn't matter what you are. It's either you have it or you don't. It's like charisma. It's talent. And that is honestly what I believe is much more I think that's honestly much more diverse, really, if I believe it or not. I mean, probably would have to go ahead and look up, say, who was like Evo champion for X game because they, for example, tournaments don't just hold just one game. I mean, most don't. I mean, there are special cases like Final Round, for example, which is typically a Tekken-oriented based tournament, which some people would argue and say that it is the home of Tekken in a way in Atlanta. Um, what else is there? Could you please reiterate what you were stating before?
I'm sorry. So do you know like the demographics of Atlanta? Or
Huh?
I'm sorry, you said the the fighting game championship
I
is
was
held in Atlanta?
for Tekken Final Round.
Or sorry, yeah.
People in the community, the Tekken community, consider it as like the unofficial official capital and home of Tekken in general.
Sure.
So they claim.
Do
But
you
I was
know what
also
percentage of
correlating
Atlanta is
to
black? Or do you know how disproportionately black Atlanta is?
pretty sure I do. But I was just saying as an example. There are other fighting game communities that how do I word this properly to articulate this argument? I was talking about the Mobile Suit Gundam Extreme versus games and how even though we vow predominantly that community is Asian, but really it's only because we don't have the up to. It's typically an arcade game for one, and even if they were to say backport it on the consoles, technically they would lose money. If we were to have in the West, were to have the modern, up to date uh, arcade cabinets that they're getting because they're upgrading from I think they're on two overboost to now they're upgrading. The next game is going to be called Infinite Boost. Actually, believe it or not, one of the channels I mod for plays a lot of that game. Actually, it's like a small community. Not trying to shamelessly plug here, but I can plug if you like.
Yeah, go ahead and plug good games.
Oh, oh sure. The channel's called Bankai X10 Show. Um, Dude streams rather typically frequently whenever he can. Cool dude, cool community. Um,
Sorry, it's Bankai what and on what platform? Is it like
Bankai X10 Show.
Bankai X Tencho and is that on Twitch or YouTube or
YouTube.
okay?
Well, I can send you a link to the. I don't know if he's even live right now. Last I heard, he was probably working. But on his channel, you can also see, um, fucking hell, Jesus Christ. I'm sorry. on, man, dude, what the fuck? I'm sorry. Give me a sec. Sorry. It's just that as soon as I scroll down, he posts some of the most degen shit. He's a bit of a degen, just for warning. Just for warning you. But I'll also go ahead and link. I'll actually send you his channel too, by the way, just so you have it. Um, typically we don't really even have access to said game typically. Um, and because of this, I honestly think the demographic as people who would actually be victorious per se would drastically change. Well, the demographic, race, that sort of ordeal. But at the same time, though, also you have to understand this is also an arcade game. This isn't really a console port, even though there have been console ports of said game in the past. That makes sense.
Yes, but sorry. I mean, you're talking about Gundam, which is about like this is basically like a Star Wars
Which,
story, right? You know, like this is about
not
well,
necessarily.
yeah, it's you know, it's
I wouldn't
a
say it's like
space
Star Wars.
opera at the end of the day. You know, like
Space opera.
I mean,
Well, this is how I would articulate what Gundam is. Gundam, it's more so it's a Godfather mecha, as you know, 1979. Been around for 50 some years, but to pinpoint what Gundam is, it's space political warfare. That's the best way how I
yeah,
would
dramatic space
articulate what
fights,
Gundam
a
is.
space opera.
Eh. Hey, I'm calling it space opera because I mean they can be like singing, but I get what you mean in the context.
Or yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I get what you're saying though. I get what you're saying in
Yeah,
context. But with how should I say this? With in regards to this specific game in this specific community, um, like I was saying, they typically gatekeep. We don't even have any of the ports because the way how what I've gathered is that they charge people. You have to buy the cabinets, the central console port, like the main console, where if you have to have it plugged up with the other like machines, because apparently the way how it's set up, it's really weird. Uh, sorry, brain fart. Um, they have like a main console where you're able to go ahead and switch between the players to go ahead and watch how they're progressing, how they're playing, whatnot. Then you have the actual console ports, which is the actual cabinet where you actually would play. And you not only have to, not only do they charge for the Wi-Fi router, the modem, and also to rent out the um, consoles themselves. If that makes sense.
yeah, yeah.
And
Money.
because how arcades are over here, they're not as popular as they are over there. It's not what it used to be like in the 80s or 90s, which in this case, I'd argue and say that it's more, in this case, it's situational. I mean, it's not like I myself can go over to Japan very easily off a hat of a whim, especially with how prices are, which that's a whole other argument in itself. The one point that I'm trying to state is that in regards to game characters, like characters in a fighting game, which I believe is what you were referencing to before with Blanca, right?
Or I was talking about the number one Blanca play in the world.
Oh, you were talking about the number one Blanca player. Fuck.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the character in general,
Oh no.
like the actual character. Fuck me, my bad. I didn't hear what you were saying.
You're good.
Again, I don't really keep up with Street Fighter like that.
Yeah. Or I guess okay. So here, I wanna pitch like a counter narrative to like the wokeness thing.
Because if I knew who you were talking about, I could understand what you were saying better.
Okay, so here's the counter narrative that I want to pitch. Gaming has been a growing industry for decades upon decades, in a crazy way, especially with the proliferation of uh, smartphones, like iPhones, and like the standardization of like I think mobile gaming is like the like
What? Wait, what? What the fuck happened?
sorry, I think
Sorry, go ahead.
someone disconnected or something. But yeah, I think like gaming has been a growing market for quite some time. And like it's just been like growing like crazy because they were able to push out like the mobile like gaming, which is probably the biggest platform that like people play games. Like more people
Are
probably
mm,
played fucking the whatever that like fucking Bejeweled or
I'd argue with I'd argue and say that probably PC is probably the biggest, as well as being mobile.
or I mean,
I think both of
do you
those.
think more people play phone games, or do you think more people have like a like have like a gaming PC?
I mean, even if you are playing, say for example, a Cartoon Network game, like on their browser, on their
Yeah,
website,
yeah, sure. So like that
wouldn't that
kind
not
of
be considered? Would that not be considered gaming? And PC
sure,
is
but
PC
I
gaming
think
in a way,
I mean sure in a way, but
or
like I
we?
think it's like I think that the amount of people playing browser games is like several magnitudes or several orders of magnitude lower than how many people are playing mobile game apps. Like I think you're talking about like 1% of PC gamers. When you talk about like like some people who like just play like browser
I
games.
mean, the thing with PC gaming though, PC gaming is such a broad spectrum. You have people who play some people use Xbox Game Pass, some people use Steam, GOG,
But like again, in
Epic
terms
Game
of an
Store, and
absolute
even
number, do you think that more people have like a smart are playing on mobile or are playing on PC? Like do you think there are more phones in the world or PCs in the world?
damn, that is a fucking tough question.
Well, I mean,
Um,
so whatever. The gaming market has been growing for quite some time. It like for no good
oh, of
reason.
course,
Like
yes,
it has had unfettered success in finding new markets. But like at some point, you reach fucking saturation, and like once we hit the edge of like, most people have a smartphone. Most people can play whatever fucking like slop that wants to suck $5 out of you every day for the rest of
oh,
forever.
gotcha, shit. Don't make me
Um,
get started on that. Oh, fuck.
yeah. So like, and
Um,
that's where like we were able to hit like so like in like like we had like PCs where you had to build them yourself, and then we sold people consoles, which are not the same, but it's like oh here's something you just like put this into, and like now it's like oh like it's just a thing you can download on your phone, and like now we have hit like the market cap, and people actually have to start innovating and doing like making better games rather than just making more games to take advantage of um but yeah, I mean I feel like we're kind of hitting like that wall of expectations of like just the amount of nonsense that's getting put out. So a lot of stuff is failing, and it gets a lot of coverage because we're more connected now than we ever were. And I don't know if the reason isn't wokeness. It's just a matter of like I don't know, like people make bad games and people are blaming the wrong thing. Just,
I think, well,
The game can be bad without
Um,
being
in
bad because it's woke.
regards
I think we
to
should focus on a specific example that you do agree that is like woke. Like for example, the like female Ghostbusters. So like, how is that an example of woke media? And like, why was it, or why is it bad? I guess. Does that make sense? Because like, I think you had said earlier that the female Ghostbusters was indeed woke media. So given the fact that it is woke media, by your standards, why is it bad? Why is it bad for society? That kind of thing, So we can kind of like wrap it up in a bow so we can, because I feel like um since we didn't really satisfy that feeling, we might continue to think about it when we talk. And I just feel like that would make it the most satisfying for everybody if we just make sure that we hone in on like something that we agree on as or that you deem as woke media instead of, a derivative of this thing and whatnot.
I feel like basically, how long have we actually been going? That's actually a good question. Since you brought that up, Peach, what the fuck? What time do we start? Start at 6, right?
Yeah, 6 year time. Yeah. So we've been
6
going
my
like
time.
like
PST.
2 or 3 hours. Or like 3 hours and 22 minutes ish.
So I think it was a
Yeah.
great conversation. I'm just wondering if we can put a bow on it because that's how it'll quench my desires. You know what I mean?
Your
As a viewer,
desires.
that's what I want to know. Yes.
Oh, fuck. My bad. I'm so sorry. You can.
No, I
You're free
didn't
to
mean to
go.
word.
You're free
No,
to
I
go
didn't mean
now.
to word
Like,
it like that. No, I didn't
you
mean
are
to word
so
like
fine.
that.
I am so sorry.
What I
I don't
mean,
mean for this to
no,
go on for so
no,
long.
I
I mean,
genuinely did not mean it to be that way. Like, trust me, I'm having a good time. I just mean that, like, for me
you're
and my
fine.
selfish needs, I want to hear that conversation so I know how to finally address it. Like, for example, in my chat, because sometimes it's hard for me because I don't know all the video game stuff, right? So, like, I want to be able to
Oh,
see
okay.
a
You
battle in
want
the
to you?
marketplace of ideas. Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
okay. I get what you're saying. You want to. Apparently, you think this is
I want to use
so
you. Yes,
hawk levels of excellency that
yes.
you actually want to go ahead and use this as a topic for your next stream in the
Thank
future. Is that what you're
you.
saying?
Yes,
Did I solve the
please.
puzzle, Vanna White? Did I
Yes,
solve it?
yes. Thank you so much.
Shame I only got $450 in one fucking letter. But hey,
Please.
um,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome. How the fuck do we wrap this shit up? Because honestly, we can make this to a fucking series.
All right, listen. Tell me the worst. Give me your top three things, or no. Give me the worst thing you
Top
think
three.
wokeness has
Fuck.
ever done.
The worst thing that woke
Or
has
yeah,
ever
yeah,
done.
like the thing that wokeness has most ruined for you. Like whatever piece of media that that you think is most tainted with it. What do you think is the grossest representation of like the worst of how wokeness is ruined?
The scummiest of the scum. Damn. Whoo wee. The worst. Damn, that's actually a really good question.
Yeah, like or rather, what's the most obvious representation of this? If that helps at all.
I think the one that you brought up was with Ray Skywalker, I believe. The original plot of what originally was supposed to be that trilogy, it was supposed to be Finn the being the Jedi, which I don't think has ever been precedented ever before a clone trooper becoming the mantle of a Jedi, right?
Or was there something specific, or when
There was a specific scene actually that referenced it when John Boyega's character Finn, I believe that's what his name was,
yeah,
in
yeah.
7 got the lightsaber, and
Or,
he looked at it
sorry,
like as if he was
the
what
question that I want to ask is, what was the midichlorian count of the average stormtrooper?
the what
The midichlorian count, like the measurement of like how like force attuned they are. Like what was like, or are clone troopers known to not be in touch with the force specifically?
the Force, the Force, how it's described, what the Force is specifically, it's like another murky term. It's like everything and nothing all at once. It's like air. Everyone feels it, knows it's there. We all you. It's probably a bad analogy now I think about it. To describe what the Force is, it's oh damn. That's damn. I didn't was expecting you to ask such a deep question.
No, all right.
Man.
Listen. Sorry. Okay.
I'm trying to
You think
describe
the
the
best
Force.
example is Star Wars? Sorry. I don't mean to.
I'm trying to describe the Force. The Force is the answer.
I don't even. The Force is
fucking
like
question.
bacteria in your blood that we can measure with like a number. It's like Scientology, but you know, less fascist. I guess.
I don't know if that's even the proper articulation for that either. That's why I'm like, fuck.
For sure. Okay,
You
but like,
end up
okay,
asking me a
but
question
you
like
think
this
Ray,
easy, and I'm
Ray
trying to
being,
actually genuinely think for
but
a
like,
second.
okay, so Ray so Finn being able to use Force powers is the most egregious like thing of like wokeness like you think is permeated or like that's the most like obvious one. It just like ticks all the boxes.
I think the fact that he didn't realize what was the actor himself didn't realize what was going on until it was too late that they ended up snubbing his character. Especially um when in regards to how the marketing around it is really what I would consider woke. Because they market Disney markets lots of these movies to China, as you know. Like with
Oh yeah, Hollywood is controlled by China. Okay, listen.
I mean, they like their fucking money.
Oh, China likes their fucking money. Is that what you're saying?
America loves China's money in regards to the market. And so to appease to them, I remember that they shrunk down Finn's position in the Star Wars poster. I thought that was really messed up, even though I understand that regards to the sense of like black people overseas, especially in China, is not really well received. Still, I feel like that sort of also contributed to as to how he was mistreated. And I feel like in some aspect, the stories was rewritten to sort of bury him in that sense.
Wait. Okay. So, are you saying media's woke? So, and media's controlled by China. So, China is woke. Would that be a? Do you think that would be like a good? Like, do you think China's woke? I guess is my question. Sorry.
So I think China's woke.
Yeah. Or pushing a woke agenda.
I think they're. Oh, I think that they're kind of. I think that in many different aspects, I feel like, and I think with regards to any sort of nation, I feel like it's both sleep and woke. I think it depends on the context of nature, of course. In this context, again, I feel it's a very slippery, slimy slope. Because even when the fans, even with everything that was going on, I also remember with the Twitter page, they were ignoring birthdays of the original trilogies, but also mentioning those of the modern one, which I generally thought was slimy, but it doesn't really correlate to your question, but I think it was very scummy and slimy, especially when OG, the voice for OG, for Darth Vader, I believe. They didn't even acknowledge his birthday. It was the fans that did. Sorry, that's off another tangent, but
Okay, so yeah, I also agree we should celebrate James Earl Jones' birthday, whenever it comes up.
oh damn right. I think in regards to anyone that's contributed to the franchise and made the franchise what it is now,
Even Ray.
I mean, celebrated by so many, I think that we should respect our OGs. And I think doing right and doing justice underneath the people who have died to create any sort of media, either it being animated, live action, whatever.
I
I
guess
think
so.
that there is a specific. I hope that this goes for anything. I hope that it's done with justice and with pure good merit.
Sure. All right, listen, I'm tired. I'm gonna go away now, if that's okay. Or
I
I
have
guess
more energy.
for sure. Yeah. I
Yeah, because you
listen.
guys
I'm
keep
super open
going.
to chatting again. At some point. You've given me a lot to think about, and yeah, I wanna ponder on it.
Also, by the way, if I didn't say it before, I'm a digital media major, so this is like this whole bit here is literally my shtick. And the reason why I joined was because I got sick and tired of seeing the same damn thing. Too many things, too many bits of media nowadays. No, everyone's afraid of being original. There's no originality. It's just that we let us rehash what works, which no shame in it to rehash what works, but innovation is what's needed to evolve. Don't get me wrong, I love the classics, but if you can't go ahead and create something new, something old, or create a brand new IP from the ground up because everyone's afraid to be original, what point is there to having any originality to begin with? If it's the same recycled shit with a different coat of painting, do you consider that as something stunning and brave, or is it just old dusty rehash BS? That's the point I'm trying to make,
I
and
mean,
I would like to leave it on that note.
for sure.
I would like to give us a thought in that maybe it's a problem of us being frustrated with the unoriginality of things and not that being separate from wokeness. Maybe that's something that we can think about too.
I think it both coincides with both each. I think to some degree, yes, there is wokeness, but at the same time, there is also lack of originality. I think both play hand in hand in one another in some aspect or form, either being one being more predominantly visible and represented and shown than the other one, or lack thereof. Um, and to go and provide examples in detail in context, again, super murky, but there are examples out there.
And I'm just saying maybe that there's a difference where like for example, media company could both be trying to get a money grab, or maybe they're just doing that as opposed to like another company who may want to star a transgender person. You know what I mean? Maybe it doesn't automatically mean that they're doing it as a money grab, right? But some people might just be really dumb and greedy and try to do a money grab in a stupid way, and nobody likes it because they all see it as a money grab, and there's not actually this big giant problem that we have in media. That's what I think, but we can talk about it another time. You're right.
I mean, to be fair, I could talk about it right now and get into that with you, but I mean, I think Darko's tired. But I have so much fucking energy.
I think I'm probably gonna go too, just because you did give me a lot to think about. But that's kind of like what my thoughts were at the end of this.
Oh, fuck,
And
my
then
bad.
we can talk about it like tomorrow or something. No, there's no my bad. I'm just also
No,
really tired.
because I did not know that when I agreed to this, it was such a very, very late time. Maybe perhaps out of consideration of the both of you. Maybe perhaps we recoincide with this and touch base back again on this topic when we are all much more alive and awake. Granted, it'd be much harder to acquiesce to times and schedules because different time zones are a bitch. Okay,
True,
which
but I'm
I
always around,
completely
and it's about
understand.
an hour. It's about an hour, so I don't think that's too hard. But we have a place now in the peach underscore streams Discord. If you want to go to twitch.tv/peach underscore streams, my link to my Discord is there.
Shameless plugging. Shameless. Fine. You want me to plug myself?
I mean, if you want to, I mean, you
I
don't have to
am
use your socials like
Cero
that.
Miedo. I am on here on I'm on YouTube mainly. I have Twitch, but I don't really use that shit. Maybe I should start using my Kick. Ugh.
I've been thinking about that too. I'm thinking about that as well. Kick.com/peach underscore
No,
streams.
wow.
Yeah,
But I
that's not.
checked yours. You don't even use it. Like I was like, oh, let me see. You just have it. It's like, well, fuck me. You
Okay, it's okay.
like honestly, to be fair, if you want to do like bikini shit, go wild over there. They really don't give a shit on Kick.
Based. Go
Which
to peach underscore streams for bikini shit. Peach underscore streams. Thank you. Kick.com.
Jesus Christ, I just give you a fucking idea. What the fuck have I done?
Actually, Cake has cracked down a lot lately on the restrictions. They're not as bad as other platforms,
No,
but they're not.
no.
It's not as Wild
For
West as it used to
bikini
be. You know.
Oh hell no. Oh no no
or
no no no.
bikini
The
unrestricted
wild.
restricted
I mean, it's
streams.
much more toned down,
Kick.com
but no 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 no. No, as someone who was there on Kick at the very beginning, during the Wild Wild West period when they were first starting up before they started cracking down, dude, nah, they're much more tame now. Hella tame. I once saw someone who I saw a streamer who, by the way, was broadcasting on their spicy top link, and while on stream had a separate cam for yeah. Yeah, and the wild thing is that she never really got caught either, I don't think.
I mean,
Which is wild.
yeah, which was
Like,
really wild for
it's
like
more so like with Kick, if you don't see it, if they don't see it, you're fine. Trust me. I've seen some shameless behavior. Like, holy fuck.
All right, we'll find out what the fuck I decide to stream at kick.com/peach underscore
I'm
stream.
warning you, there's no Peach, listen. You seem who the hell am I kidding? Okay, you're older than me, you're probably seen more shit than I have. Um how do I put this? How do I put this? Okay. The thing with Kick, they're much more lax when it comes to bikini stuff, but alike with Twitch, like how you got yeeted from orbit for literally what, a blue bikini? Even when you had the right tags on and everything, you still got moved. This happened especially when I was part of this one community. I think she ended up leaving because of it. There was a streamer who I followed when I first came to Twitch who was treated me so well, even though she openly admits she is a fucking slut. Openly. Cool with it. Always.
Queen.
She was always very. Who the fuck is this Pokemon?
It's horrible.
You don't know the Pokemon Kirby?
It's She already said the joke. End of a joke.
It's Marvel.
See, this is supposed to be like, who's that Pokemon? Then you say the name after.
Kirby.
That's what she did perfectly. Sorry, Darko. I'm just the fuck. What the fuck?
For red bikinis and not blue bikinis, go to twitch.tv/peach_streams.
Jesus
Wow.
Christ.
Jesus.
No.
Bro,
Oh, what have I done?
listen, we
What the
got you.
fuck have I done? Seriously.
You started. You've created a monster, I guess.
Oh, God. I'm just forewarning you. Like I'm sorry, there was a streamer who constantly got nuked from orbit and banned constantly for bikini streams. I remember during
Orbiter.
the whole what's it called?
Twitch
The
orbiters. There's Twitch orbiters.
uh Harry Potter debacle. Is that what the Harry Potter was getting flack because of something that J.K. Rowling did, and because of it,
Is J.K. Rowling woke, or yes or no?
J.K. Rowling in the room with us right now.
I mean, she said something controversial. I remember.
Yeah,
Do I
she was
know where
abused,
she
which
stands in
made
that
it fine
sense?
for her to be
I don't
transphobic
know.
as fuck.
But because of this,
Yeah,
it
ding
led
dong.
to people during
Oh
the
god,
Hogwarts Legacy
whatever.
game. Lots of people, even people who were just playing the game, they're getting targeted
Name.
heavily. I also kind of ruined the hype for me too, because with the streamer who was very sweet to me, her name, if you want to know for the record, is barely Alex. Like sweetheart.
We only promote Peach streams in this
She
Peach
basically had to play the
underscore
game
streams.
off stream because people like literally hate rating streamers who are playing the game. To that, I just think it's unacceptable.
Well, that is really sad. But since she's banned, make sure you go ahead and follow Peach_streams.
She's not banned. She's not banned. She's been unbanned ever since. She just doesn't return to a platform.
Oh,
Peach.
since she's no longer available to
No
watch.
longer available. Her account literally still exists. I can literally pull it up right now.
Bro.
Like that. Just saying, bro.
Peach_streams.
Jesus Christ. Oh my god.
Her channel of singular taste, I guess. What?
Okay. I think everything was said that needed to be said, right?
I think so.
Darko, do you agree?
Yeah, maybe we can follow up about this sometime. I think a little bit.
Yeah, you tired as shit. Let's get the
Right.
fuck out. Or
sure.
you want to get like pizza or some shit? I don't know what the fuck we do after debates. Touch grass?
Oh, yeah. Touch grass.
I'd love it if we got pizza sometime afterwards.
I don't even live in your area. I'm not even Michigan.
Well, then why'd you suggest it?
Because I don't know. A pizza party sounds nice.
Agreed.
But I'm literally not even in your area. I'm in one of the areas that you actually say you'll never visit, so.
Canada? Or
No.
oh shit. Hold on. You're either in Kansas or
Wow, you got it. What the fuck? You got it right first time. What the fuck?
Kansas. I knew it.
How?
Because I know myself.
Psychic? Are
no,
you
I know
Mewtwo?
myself. You said it was a place I would never go to, and I'm like, oh, Kansas sounds.
Wow.
I know I probably said that before.
Wow, you must be a fucking psychic. What are you, Mewtwo? Are you fucking Victini? Are you what's the other psychic Pokemon? Oh fuck. What are you, Slowpoke? Wait, is Slowpoke psychic? I think so.
I'm slow. Your mom.
My mom is dead.
Yeah, that's why she's so slow.
I'm just fucking with you. She's actually alive, but real reason why she's slow is because she has a bad knee. Actually, has to get surgery on it. Real shit, though. Beside the point, though. Beside the point.
Sure.
It
Well,
also depends which mom, too. I have two.
Oh, based.
Yeah,
Hey man, I
I'm
super
adopted.
appreciate the conversation. As I said, you can revisit this. Let me know when you finish like your deep dive into Sweet Baby, and then I don't know if you want
Yeah,
to do like a
because
debrief.
like I
That'd be
said,
fun.
I don't know how deep this worm goes, but I can tell you some of the details I've discovered just off of the top.
Or I mean, no. I want to hear like the full thing because otherwise I'm on whatever. It's gonna poison the well
You
for
won't
me.
understand. I don't know. Like I said, I showed you the article I posted. This bit's new to me. I didn't even know about it until I was doing deep research on a few of the games, you brought up three, which is Alan Wake, God of War Ragnarok, and one other,
Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
I will need to do research on Spider-Man. Oh fuck me! Oh shit! No, my Dark Souls trilogy. No, don't slip and fall. You're imported from the UK.
Well, then
Um,
see, like we have things that we need to, research, right? Because it's kind of what you're saying. Like we have things that we need to research. These are the things that I need to research. So like we
the
need to research those
one
things,
that
right? And then once we research those things, then we can
yeah,
all like convene, right?
it's just that this thing is starting to become the web of what I thought was supposed to be Sweet Baby Inc. My research is that whenever they're tied to something, either everything that they've tied to for the most part, they have caused indie developers and also big heavyweight developers to go defunct after using their services for the most part. It's gotten so bad that even Sony is starting to distance themselves away from them. And even from what I've discovered is that even with Sweet Baby, it has also single-handedly have even caused other games that weren't even tied to or even affected by said company to have their projects become canceled because said project had ties with it and they lost a lot of money because of working with them.
Right. I get that, but the reason why we didn't go into that tonight is because we need to know more about that, right? So we need to research it, and then we can
Yes,
like come together, and then we need to talk about it, right? But like, I
which
totally get
yeah,
yeah,
of course.
that's like absolutely crazy, So like
Yeah,
that's
I
why like
thought it was
that's why we need to get together again to talk about it once we actually like understand what's going on.
like at first I had a good general consensus of what they were, some of the stuff that they've done, which by the way I think is just slimy. But with the article that I posted, it goes deeper. It
Right,
goes
and so we
much
need to go
deeper,
into
and
that,
it's
and
just
then
like
that's
a
just
circle jerk.
because we could do that for like hours, you know what I mean? And so it's just like I think better if we like figure it out on our own and then kind of like come together once we already have done that research, you know what I mean? And so that's why it's kind of like putting like a what a pin in it,
Work
right?
case
Because we
study.
got all this new stuff, and so then we need to actually go through do our own research, and then we can get back together in another debate and talk about that.
Yeah, because I
Yeah, I
don't
mean, there's
know
definitely a lot
when
to
that
talk
would
about, but that's
occur.
kind of just like, well, it can occur like any time that we're both, or that we're all available, right?
I
We
mean,
just
yeah,
need to
of
plan it.
course, but I mean to have the full connected timeline as to everything that's going on. I mean, this is still unraveling and ongoing. So
Right,
Last
so we just have a
year,
part
a
two, and then if
science
we need to
fiction
have a part three, then we have a part three. But it's just like in parts.
yeah, because I think this is probably like a good trilogy or
Exactly. So
quintrilogy.
this is like part one, and
How do
then we
you
go to part two, and then part three, and.
Yeah, because I don't know how as a company, as a consulting company, how the hell do you fuck up this badly? I mean,
Well, let us know then. Let us know. I have no idea. I don't know if Tarko doesn't know. I mean, it sounds like he said that he needs to research stuff too, right? So like we can all get back like together and like talk about what we found next because like we wouldn't have gotten to this point if we never had this conversation today, right? So now that we've had this
that's correct.
conversation, then it gives us what we need. So then we can go back and then we can have the like next debate and then like who knows what happens after that, you know? But it's like I feel like
Okay,
it's
yeah, I
better
hear
if we
you.
just like, go together and do that. You know what I'm trying to say? But I'm really
I get
excited.
you. I get you. Yeah. I get you. I get you. This is hope and pray. If you even are in either religious or not, wish me the fuck luck that I go ahead and get my gaming laptop fixed so I can mod the fuck out of Cyberpunk 2077 because I don't want
Good
to have to
luck.
fucking.
That sounds like hell. I'm
I
really
don't have
happy.
to.
I mean, you're going
I,
to be able to do it, obvi. So
I don't want to have to play the fucking console version, which thankfully I go ahead and buy multiple copies of so I can have it portable on the go. Beside the point, this thing, even though I have literal
In
saved it
case
on
you
this
don't,
fucking laptop of me playing the game before, all of a sudden you want to act like a fucking carny piece of shit. Fuck you, Razer. Sorry.
no, that would really piss me off too.
Exactly.
That yeah, that's no fun.
It's like how would you feel if you were playing what Clone Hero and then
Yes.
all of a sudden the game ended up updating, then all of a sudden because of said update your drivers are incompatible to even play the fucking game in the first
Oh,
place for a game that you know you already played before, so you update it, right? Think,
right. So it
oh,
should work,
okay,
right? Or do you
yeah,
think it
but
would
then
work?
all of a sudden, it still wants to show up fucking errors, even though I just played this shit yesterday.
That's really annoying. I'm so sorry.
The
I am.
earth
I am
to
praying for
swing.
you.
There was a song that I want to reference. Actually, I wanted to get you to play this song whenever I'm angry. It's called it's called Music Is. I forget what it's called. Um, so sorry, sidetracking tangent. The source I ended up getting this from, who did the investigative journalism for Sweet Baby Inc., which again, explaining how it's gotten deeper. It's called the YouTube channel is called Gothic Therapy. Just so for the record, for context, which I discovered, which I found through the article I posted from. Just saying that there. But on a completely unrelated tangent, the song I have to look it up because it's from. It's when okay, Shaw Molly. Hey, swing. Um. By the way, this is Dr. Darko. If you're still live streaming right now, I advise you cut it off because I don't want you to have the stream get copywritten.
Sorry, I have to step out real quick. But like I said, I'm really happy. I'm happy that I got to listen to this conversation, and I can't wait to hear the rest of it when it gets scheduled. I love you so much. Okay, bye guys.
Okay,
Yeah, for sure.
later.
I will. I will chit chat with you again soon, for sure.
But later.
For- yeah, I left the VC. I haven't hit the end stream button yet. Yeah, I was. Heart attack. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of sus. Games you're talking about aren't actually woke.
Yeah. trying to be.
I have a headache. Go check out the number one Blanco player in the world, Peach _streams, and or the Birdman on YouTube. Great series. Anyway, I love you all so much. Oh my gosh. Bye. Ooh.